button. If you weren't, please use your phone. Just take down your question, and there will be a session for it after we finish speaking. Okay, to my very left, I'm going to allow Sheikha to introduce herself. What does it mean to lead dispute resolution at Paystack?
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sheikha.
Yeah, my name is Sheikha, Customer Success Manager for Disputes at Paystack. What does it mean to lead dispute resolution at Paystack? Okay, I know where to start from. Basically, it's in a fintech business, right? You make money, you lose money, right? And there's so many things that happens in between. There's a very high chance as a fintech company or as a fintech business to lose money, right? And that happens when a customer makes a complaint to their banks, right? The bank reaches out to Paystack, and then Paystack is given the opportunity to respond. If we don't respond, we lose money, right? So basically, my day-to-day is ensuring we don't lose money every day. That's what I do. So that's what it means to be a dispute resolution, a customer success manager for disputes. You're on top of the operations of ensuring we don't lose money every day. You're also putting processes in place for daily things to function on its own.
Thank you so much. This is one minute. Yes, thank you.
Okay, hi again, everyone. My name is Abiola, HR Business Partner at Paystack. What it means to be a business partner, I don't know where to start, like Sheikha as well. But then, what I do, it's a role that works closely with the leaders in an organization, just to help them get value from their employees. So what I do basically is just to listen to employees, what are your pain points, deliver it to management, how do we convert all of these pain points into actionable things that would actually work for the employees. So just standing as an intermediary between management and between employees. So to the Paystack guys here, I'm actually your friend.
Okay, hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Ify. I work in InterSwitch. I am the technology and operations, I work in technology as head of technology and operations governance. And what that simply means is that Sheikha mentioned, putting processes in place, right? So I also help to put processes in place that's supposed to help you to improve your service management, ensure that you are in compliance to both internal and external policies, regulatory policies. I assist auditors as well when they come in, to InterSwitch to do their audits. I serve as a liaison for InterSwitch to those auditors, and my work is to ensure that at the end of the day, when the auditor is going, they are not giving me a list of things to say I am not compliant. So before they come, I have to ensure that everything is, my processes are top notch, they are in place, it is working. I have evidence to show that those things are working, and then when they go, they are not giving me a laundry list of things to say, oh, you have to do. If anything, they should be telling me how I should improve. So they shouldn't be seeing loopholes that people can exploit in my processes. So that's what I do on a day-to-day.
Hi, my name is Fuad. Depending on the day of the week, I am unfortunately growth lead at Eden. My primary objective is to look for customers. I don't have any other job, right? And we work with the customer success team to retain them. The way I like to describe it is, God is in fact the person that brings customers, right? But my job is to figure out how God did it, so that we can do it again and again.
That's a fantastic intro. Again, my name is Caris, and I'm a product specialist, which basically means I help Paystack manage some of their biggest accounts. And every day I wake up thinking, how can I make this account grow? How do I move them from point A to point B? Does that involve creating growth strategies, partnership initiatives, product reviews, or whatnot. So basically, that's what I do. There is this misconception that to use data at any organization, you have to, in fact, either be a data analyst, a data scientist, or you have to be a technical person. But seated here today are non-technical people, right, who use data every day, right, to deliver good work. I think I would like to first of all ask, when you got into your role, did you know that you would need data analysis skill, or is this something that you discovered along along the way? Just like, oh, I need to produce good work. I need some data analysis skills. Let me go and get it. So how was it for you?
It was definitely a discovery. So for context, I started out as a customer success rep, and of course, my job then was to ensure that complaints and issues and questions were responded to and resolved, right? But then as I picked up different tasks within the company I work for, Paystack, I realized that it's very important to look at the data to be sure about your next step. I'll give an example. At one point, of course, we all know Paystack processes payments for businesses who want to receive money from their customers online. And at one point, we wanted to improve our success rate greatly. So we decided to, like, I had a conversation with people internally to figure out like how we go about it. And one thing kept coming like, we need to check our data, we need to check it per bank, we need to check this, we need to check that, and I'm like, it's in that. And then the person I worked with then spooled the data and then showed me, right, so that we would know which banks to prioritize first, who we are speaking with first, who we need to quickly make a change for, right, to visibly see a change. And that was when I realized that, oh, this data thing is actually very important. Even though you're just going to throw in efforts in areas that we don't need to throw efforts into. And I started learning along the way. I started figuring out how to get the data in the first place, how to understand what I've gotten, right, and then how to analyze, and then how to interpret it to the people that I need so that they can understand my problem and they can solve it for me.
Just to quickly add, when I got into Paystack the same way with Shaker, and Shaker was the first person that actually sat me down. Along the way too, I realized that I needed data to succeed at my work. And I think I met Shaker that, oh, you're doing this thing, how are you doing it? Teach me now. And I think one of the very first things she did was to teach me pivot table. And she was like, come, let me teach you how you do this data analysis. And I think I did it and I'm like, what's Excel? Why do people underrate Excel so much? Like, it was sweet to do. And it was giving me results that I could have gotten so difficultly, right? And that was Shaker's work. Please round of applause for her. Abiola, same question. Is this something you discovered that you needed on the job, or was it a skill you had before you got into the role?
My journey into people operations, HR, is also like really strange. So I definitely did not know that I was going to need data analysis. But then I was into it before I made that discovery. And yeah, I use data for a lot of things, especially in a company like Paystack. We're trying to be very intentional about how we treat our people and how our culture grows. How do we do that? How do we deliver that kind of experience to people? We use data. Because we're trying to move away from the traditional HR kind of setting or environment where things are a little uptight. We're trying to move into an environment where people are allowed to do their best work. And then remember, doing your best work can be relative. You can't use the same parameters to judge that everybody in this room will do their best work with those same metrics, right? So how do we make those findings? How do we know what is important to everybody on this row? How do we know what is important to everybody here? So using data would open our eyes to a lot of blind spots that exist in people operations, and just let us make informed decisions that are data driven, that would actually deliver value, right, to the employees.
As an employee, I'm getting value.
Alright, so as an IT compliance, IT audit, IT risk, IT governance person, I've done, okay, I started working about almost 10 years ago. And at the time when I started working, I just was thrown into this unit. In fact, I tell people that my original plans in life was that I wanted to be in corporate affairs. I just wanted to look fine and going around. So the day my offer letter came and I saw technology there, I was disappointed beyond, I can't even explain, and I always say this all the time, but I think in retrospect it was a good thing that I was taking to technology. At the time, technology was just becoming a thing. Like, prior to then, in the banking sector, you just get thrown anywhere. They don't even take into consideration whether you get tech or not. But from my set, they actually took into consideration that as long as you studied anything remotely technical or sounding sciencey, you are going to be thrown into technology. And they don't just throw into technology, they just take you to a team. So they took me to IT compliance team in technology. And what in that team, the best IT compliance people are usually people that already have experience doing other things. I didn't have any experience. I wasn't interested in tech, right? So I needed to come and learn all those things on the job. And then when I started having like internal auditors and external auditors come and say, oh, we need this, we need that, because when they come to audit you, they send you a list of requirements, and you're supposed to provide those requirements for them. So in the beginning, people were maybe a little bit nice and helpful. Sorry guys, if my former workplace people are watching. They were a bit helpful. They were okay. Let me help you, and somebody will write a script and give me the output, and then I will happily go and do auditor. Then 1 year, maybe my second year or something, the shakara was not even here. I was begging, please just help me. I just need this list. And people are telling you, I don't have time. As in, please come back. And your auditor is telling you that I sent this request the 10th of February. Today is 18th of February, I've not received it. And they are escalating you. And so one day I was just really frustrated. I said, what is this thing? I remember that I saw the guy do something, but I don't know what it was. But I know what the information I wanted to get was. And my job, luckily, allowed me to have access to, like SQL, databases and all of that. And I just said, okay, as long as I don't go and update, insert, I'm fine. I can only select. So I said, okay, so how do I select from this thing? I need this list of people. I need to know what their job roles are. I need to know their levels. And I just started trying things. And I got that information out. And I was so happy. And I kept that script, and I left it in my team. They continued using it. But that thing normally takes me like 10 days of begging, or depending on how I beg. So it can be shorter, it can be longer. But I started doing it myself, and I stopped going to meet them. And they were surprised that I just stopped going to meet them to say, give me this data. Once auditor comes, I don't have fear. I already know all the things I have that I can give, and the ones I can pay. And I already give them everything, and I was good to go. So I learned how to learn on the job out of frustration.
Thank you so much, Ife. So select from where what's your answer.
So from my very first job, right? My first full-time job was in a newsroom, right? And I think my crash course on the importance of data was, I was convinced I'm getting something fantastic, right? And I checked Google Analytics, and I feel like only me and like a few people I know that I now have a job ready. And I think because of that experience, like data has always been a thing that I've had to engage in some degree, like since I started working, right? And when I joined Eden, which is where it gets really interesting, data is baked into every aspect of Eden, right? It's so serious that even our food production team, they don't cook in or put 2 pinches of salt. Like, it's is in grams and liters, because that's the only thing you can measure and scale, right? Like, we know data, everybody knows data so much that if you ask a random person, they can like just throw a number at you, right? So I was talking to someone yesterday and I was talking about like how we think about service delivery and like timing. And I was like, oh, in January last year, only 11% of our deliveries showed up on time, right? And I said, oh, by December 16 of last year too, that gone up to 98%, right? And like, the person found it fascinating that I knew that type of detail, but it is pretty much how every single person at Eden thinks about data. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that every Friday, someone from every team comes to present, right? And it's as little as what like we hope is not allowed, many, tried, or like all those words that don't really mean anything. Did well. What does well mean? Right? And I mean, it always feels basic, right? But when I engage people outside that I now realize, I now begin to appreciate even further like that extent of how much we think about data in business. So I feel like for me, I've always just known that it was part of my job. It was a job requirement, right, to look at data. Unfortunately, the person I made is still that traumatic approach sitting somewhere at the back. But getting to Eden took it to another level, because at Eden, data is not just for the techies. Data is for the food production person. Data is for the person managing cleaners. It is for the customer success team, right? How many calls do you make on the first attempt? How many people do you call twice? Because how many percent of people? It is ridiculous. And we are collecting so much of it. We don't even have the range to begin to engage all of it yet. But we are collecting it. So when the time comes, or as we like become more, for lack of a better word, sophisticated as a team, we'll learn how to deploy it better. But yeah.
Just to reiterate, thank you. Please round of applause. So just to reiterate what Fab said, he had data skills before he got into the job, but as he got into the job, he knew that he needed to grow his data skills, and he did. And I think something specific is said that even the cleaners, like those who manage the cleaners, those who manage the food producers, they all know they need data. Like, it doesn't matter what your job role or job description is. At every point, for any organization, it's important to have some very basic data skills. Just going back to you, your job is at the intersection of customer acquisition and retention. You said God brings customers, you're trying to learn how to do it, right? There's also marketing, there's also product development at your job. Basically, your job entails helping the company grow from point A to point B, right? How specifically do you use data to do that, right? To be better at your job. You can also share examples of progress you've made because you had data to back up the claim. And what specific tools do you also use in achieving these results?
Let me start by saying it's Keto, right? All of this is Keto. So when I joined Eden, we were already collecting some data, right? But team more specifically, there was barely growth team, to be honest, right? But on the growth team more specifically, it felt like we were not asking enough questions about what the numbers meant. Like, what does it mean that we acquired like 1,000 leads this month? Like, what does it mean? Why did we acquire those leads? Where did those leads come from? And the very clear first step was we give a weekly report that we just basically say we look at our entire funnel, right? And we break down every part of the funnel. And we basically ask, this part of the funnel, what happened there? Why did this happen? What does it mean, right? And it's very interesting because by the end of last year, that document had like over 30,000 words of just whys. Like, why was this happening? Why was that happening? Right? And my best part of it was I went to read the first like January last year's report, and we were so primitive. Quality of questions we were even asking, right? I don't want to go into details, right? Because I cannot expose us outside, right? But I find that from that process, by having to check and ask those questions consistently, you just become sharper about data and how to understand it. It was also a thing where our reporting system on the growth team, every time we catch a thing that affects someone else, even every time a small spike in feedback happens, we just like drag out the relevant stakeholders, the production team, product team, customer success team to come and like respond to it. Something very interesting happened last year. Someone ran ads on copy, right? Some of us ran one particular ad, and we just got this large influx of leads telling us that, so, the chef, if I pay now, when will the chef come to my house, right? And we're like, dude, we have an entire website that says chefs don't come to your house, right? But we realized it was actually our fault, right? Because the copy said, chefs will cook for you. That was what the ad said. And you did not explain that, oh yes, it will be delivered instead, right? But the only way we could catch that was because we were reporting. So, more than tools and anything, I find that spending a lot of time just asking questions is how you even use tools more effectively, because tools just amplify the quality of questions that you're asking and the kind of insights you can extract. I mean, but if you're talking about tools, oh yeah, we use nice stuff like Mixpanel. Everybody uses Mixpanel. I don't have like the range of like BI people. We had someone who was very good at BI on our team, and all I used to do was I just converted that to like an answer generation engine. And I'm like, can you help me punch out something? And then she became proud. I did try to start learning BI, then in typical fashion I like quit after like 5 days, maybe I'll go back to it. But yeah, that's pretty much. For us, the most important tool in question for us is the quality of questions we are asking every time about the data.
Thank you so much. Sorry if before I come to you. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Clap, clap, clap. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. He said the most important thing is asking the question why. When I started learning SQL basics, they will just tell you that just do select from. I was like, why? Like, and it was very difficult for me to understand initially because I felt like it doesn't make sense. There should be an easier way to pull this data. But when I started asking why, when I started wanting to find out why do I have to select from this table instead of this table? The data might exist on both tables. It made understanding it easier. So even when you are it might not be Power BI or any of the data tools like you said, but your daily job, when you go out asking the most important question, why, right? You know, better results waiting for you at the end, all right? If he, as compliance, regulatory, technology person at InterSwitch, your job ensures that systems are going well, like they're meeting regulatory demands, because based on what you do or what you don't do, tomorrow one CBN or one other regulatory body can come and say, okay, let's close this list or let's close this part of the business. How do you use data to ensure that everything I'm doing, we're meeting regulatory standards, our systems are meeting regulatory standards, our organizations are meeting regulatory standards?
Alright, so anything around compliance, risk, audit is usually evidence-based. You cannot succeed if you don't have evidence to back up your claims. So you must always have evidence, and evidence comes in various forms, and one of the forms it comes in is actually data. So, for instance, for compliance, the most basic thing I can think of is like when compliance team comes to say, oh, have you done a KYC on this person? What does KYC do for an organization or do for you as an individual? It's you assessing that person and saying, are you actually who you say you are? What is your risk portfolio? How am I going to do business with you? How am I going to work with you in a manner that ensuring that I am within my own risk appetite, right? And so in compliance, you're using data to find out more about your customers and ensure that your relationship with your customer is healthy. You don't want at the end of the day things around fraud, money laundering to be tagged with your organization because you are just passing, payments or passing funds from fraudulent people. So data helps you in a compliance setting to actually determine the risk portfolio of your customer and how you relate with them. And then it even trickles down to how to things like sales. How am I going to now sell to this customer? How am I going to upsell? How am I going to cross-sell? And so many other departments. But that KYC is fundamentally from a compliance point of view. And then there are also situations whereby you have already agreed or you've already you've committed to several other like regulatory standards and things, and passing GDPR, that's the General Data Protection Regulation, which is now NDPR, because Nigeria has their own data protection regulation. So you have to ensure that you are meeting those criteria that have been set on how you are supposed to manage your customers' information and all of that. And then you have maybe like HIPAA, which is usually used abroad for like your medical data, so there are so many regulatory standards that are governing how you are using data. So data is important in compliance. Then when you come to audits, there's so many use cases and scenarios. And one of them, the ones that I work with, I'll talk about two scenarios. The first scenario is where you need to test your general controls. You call them IT general controls. And that is essentially you saying, I'm looking at this my service, I'm looking at this my systems, are they meeting the baseline? Are they meeting my internal policies? Are they meeting the things that I have said that this particular system, it needs to, the baseline I've set for it for like the CPU threshold is 70%. Is it meeting 70% or is it exceeding 70%? Am I overutilizing? Am I underutilizing? So all those kinds of things come in your IT general controls. How well are your systems protected against risk? What is my exposure? How well am I doing everything that I have set out to do on those systems? So that is one scenario. We have another scenario for like service performance. Performance management, your KPIs, your service level agreements that you've already made with your customer. I've told my customer, sir, when Fuad went to Nansel, he said, sir, don't worry, 90% of the time. Then you now come back and then they are now looking and your customer is calling you that, bruh, I see that you have downtime, 50% of the month, what is happening? As in, every time the system is always down. And you need the data to actually go and help you trend. How well am I doing? How well was I able to service my customers? Oh, this week, 20%, next week, 70%. This 90% I promised, is it okay or is not? What are my opportunities for improvement? What are the things I need to do to get to 90%? And you are beginning to document them and you are implementing them. And if you have gone to now and say, 90% because you are trying to err on the side of caution, and then you are now over exceeding, you are doing 94%, 95%, then you have to look at yourself again and say, well, perhaps I undersold myself. I will keep the learnings of what I've done here, but to improve the target or increase the target that we have set and set new targets for ourselves. So it can go both ways. If you're doing well, you can do better. If you're not doing well, you can find ways to improve yourself.
To make business decisions, right? So if you want to come up with, let's say for example, we're in a post-pandemic world, right? Pre-pandemic, in your place of work, it's possible that you guys had a policy of 8 a.m. sharp. You have to be at work, nothing less. If you're not at work at 8 a.m., you're in trouble. You'll probably be dodging before you enter, and to your seat. But now we're in a post-pandemic world. How do you know, as a HR specialist, that how do you know people want to come back to the office? How do you know that people are going to be as productive as they were during the pandemic working remotely? What percentage of people actually want to come back to the office? What percentage of people want to stay back at home working? What percentage of people neither want to stay at home nor work at the office. Right? You'll be wondering where these people want to work. People want to work in a co-working space. So how do you identify those people? What percentage of people fall in all of these categories? And then how do you interpret the data you're collecting from these people, putting them in all of these categories, interpreting them, analyzing it, and then coming up with the best decision, as opposed to saying, okay, COVID has gone away now, everybody show up at the office, 8 a.m. or you're fired. So using a data-driven approach in business decisions, people-related decisions, in creating a good environment for your employees to thrive is what we call people analytics. And then, HR, yeah, it's the same thing. And then I think it's becoming more conversant now in today's people world, because everybody wants their organization to be a comforting place for their employees. We're all trying to move away from the traditional HR approach into people experience, employee experience. And one of the ways in which you can make that a reality is just by gathering the right.
Thank you very much. Sorry, we're rushing because of time. Cheke, when you introduced yourself, you mentioned that people, because you work in fintech, it's a place where people lose money, businesses lose money, and your job is specifically to control that loss, right? How do you use data to understand these loss patterns, right? And also, how do you use data to make better decisions, right, on disputes, such that we can reduce loss and in turn make both parties happier?
Okay. First, I will define disputes, because this is a very large audience and it's not very common, right? Disputes is not something that is common. I think it's very common in the legal world, but in the financial space, people don't really understand disputes. So, what is dispute? Dispute happens when a customer isn't satisfied with the outcome of the transaction, right? And it can be that I didn't receive value. See, I paid, now what I ordered versus what I got. I can't go and log dispute, because waiting be this, right? It's also, I did not initiate this transaction, so I'm going to log a dispute. So I'm challenging something, right? And my preferred outcome as a customer is to get a refund. But that's not the usual outcome of a dispute. That's one, right? And for these different reasons, the card schemes, the banks, right, have a way of identifying them. Speaking of data, right, you want to be able to differentiate the people who are logging disputes because they did not receive value or they did not like what they received, versus the people who complain that, oh, I did not do this transaction. Where is it coming from? For us, we definitely don't want fraud, right? We don't want more people reporting that they didn't initiate a transaction. But at the same time, we want our merchants to deliver value, because we are in the middle of managing that process. So how do we use data? Of course, the banks reporting to us is the data gathering process. We have the transactions, but we need to know which ones are being reported as disputes. So when the banks give us a list, that's the data gathering process. Now, what do? We ensure that the merchants receive these disputes with the various reasons why their customers are complaining. When we do that, we also take their responses and respond to the bank. But at the end of the day, we go back to that data to say, okay, who is this person, who is this business contributing most to my dispute numbers? Because then again, there are different stages of disputes. Fines are associated with disputes, speaking about losses, right? At different stages, you lose more. At one stage, you are going to lose just the transaction amount. At another stage, you're going to be fined. At another stage, you're going to be hugely fined. You don't want to get there, right? So it's like, okay, at this stage where it's just still being reported and my businesses are responding to it, how do I help businesses reduce the numbers that I'm seeing? So we go back to the data. Who is contributing most to my dispute numbers? What amount are people logging disputes on the most, right? What's the business model
of this business that is even contributing to that dispute. And then when you go back to it, okay, is this an e-commerce business? They've not delivered goods. Excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am. Please reach out to your customers, speak to them, persuade them, respond to your emails. Like literally have the culture of responding to your emails so that your customers are comforted, right? And they know they will get value from you instead of reporting to their banking partners, right? So basically, looking at the data, asking the questions, right? Then figuring out how to engage different people based on the reasons you've identified. If it's a fraud situation, you're like, okay, still ask, what's the business model? There's so many people in this person's industry that isn't having this number, so what's different about this business, right? And then you look at it, you look at the data, you get the numbers, go to that business, you engage that business, you get data from them as well, because you have to give them assignments when you don't have all the data, right? Give them assignments, let them get data, you come together, you make a decision. Do we need to change the KYC process? Going back to what you said, right? Do we need to change how you receive, when you collect KYC? Do we need to change that? So it's, yeah, you don't want to, you have to do all these things so you don't get hugely fined and you don't get even fined small. It's basically visiting data every day and figuring out how to reduce and minimize losses.
Thank you so much, Shade. Put your round of applause. I have a quick follow-up to that, but before then, we'll be taking questions in the next 2 minutes. So please, if you have your questions ready, just, I signal any of the ushers and they will be with you shortly. It seems like you do a lot of data work to make sure that losses are being minimized, right? And I'm very sure you need a lot of people to help you do this work. So when you are hiring for disputes analyst or dispute specialist, what are some basic data skills that you advise that if you want to come work with me and help me reduce loss at Paystack or any of the organizations, you need to have these basic data skills?
Yeah, so first of all, shout out to everybody on my team, because I don't do this job before. I really do have brilliant people on my team. And interestingly, they all learned how to use data tools on the job, right? But then as we scale and grow as a company and as a team, we need people who already have these skills to join us, right? So that we're able to do things faster and make decisions faster. So if you want to be successful in this role, you must at least know how to use Excel. You see pivot table. You see pivot table, it will save you a lot. So you need to understand, like you need to know how to, number one, like clean data in Excel or Google Sheets, anyone you like, right? Know how to clean your data, right? I think that the skill of getting the data, which is going into the database, writing SQL, right? I think you can learn that, right? But then, very much love you to have that. You have to join my team, but it's something you can learn. Most importantly, you should be able to analyze data. So you know how to use Excel, you know how to use pivot table, you know how to use charts to interpret and make whatever you have learned understandable to other people, right? Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate what she said, you need to know how to understand the data you are seeing. Let's assume someone has helped you to get that data, right? There's a data analyst on the team that pulled that data for you. Does it make sense to you? Do you understand the numbers? And then Excel is your friend, everybody. I tell you this thing, Excel is your friend. So yeah, any questions?
Please put your hands together for them, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. The one thing I learned is that Excel is your friend. So this is how we're going to do questions. We're going to go from side to side just so that we can cover as large a spread as possible. I'm not sure if you have pieces of paper with you, but that's fine. I will just look. It's all right. Because we don't have time, we have less than 5 minutes to finish this session. So if you do have questions, just raise up your hand. I will start with this side first. If you have questions, raise up your hand. One person over here, two person over here. Let me get from this quadrant as well. Anyone have questions over here? Come on, guys. All right. You have a question, ma'am? Okay. Anybody here have any questions? No? All right. We have 3 questions. 4. Okay, cool. All right, sir. Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. Hi. So, very quickly, because we don't have time, just stand up, tell us your name, and then you ask your question. And yeah. All right. Awesome. So, please put your hands together for him.
Hi, my name is Kawa. My question is for Fuad. So you mentioned like your process is currently a kind of your own ghetto or something. So what's the future of growth from your own perspective? Like in your own scenario, is that a model or you're still comfortable just freestyling?
Bro, if I need the future. I think one of the things we learned by the end of last year is that in fact, in the very specifically in the JD, I wrote it there, we need an oracle, right? We are currently hiring a growth analyst at Eden, so you can check out if you want to apply. The future for us is that our team is highly experimental. Most growth teams are very, very experimental. We have a theory, we have a thesis, and we want to validate it very, very quickly, right? And validating it very quickly is because we do that with data, we come up with these theories or assumptions with data, right? So, of course, the future, the most obvious future and next step for us is a growth analyst is joining the growth team for the first time, right? And more specifically, their job is to make the rest of the team, every single one of us, sharper about data and how we think about it. One thing we try to be at Eden is be very honest about what we can do and we cannot do. It will never be the greatest use of my time and to go into like the mud to look for or to extract all these insights. So yeah, the future is that we're hiring a growth analyst. The immediate future. Idealize.com.
Awesome. Put your hands together for him. Thank you very much. Absolutely love the plug. All right, sir.
Hi. Good afternoon. Very good session. Thank you so much. My name is Rume. I'm a member of the data science faculty at UTIVA. So I wanted to ask Abiola a question. I wanted to ask Abiola a question. So I know that with the little I know about HR analytics, I know one of the challenges that HR practitioners face is really gathering data, right? Getting the actual data that will be most useful to them. I just wanted to ask if you guys leverage, so I mean, I've worked with several companies, some Fortune 500, and I know one thing that they leverage is employee opinion surveys, which are quite detailed. So I wanted to know if that's something that you guys leverage at, or have leveraged over time at Paystack. Because everyone at Paystack seems to stay there for quite a while. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ruben. Yes, we leverage employee surveys for a lot of reasons, and I'll just mention a few. That's how we know where people are happy, why people are happy, why people are not happy. We're able to predict that maybe people deduce from that maybe people from a certain team are probably unhappy with their work. So what is wrong with, for example, the legal team? If we get responses and we analyze it, and we see that maybe there's a spike or a drop in the answers around happiness and comfort at work on a particular thing, it's a blind spot for the company. The company probably would not have known that before the survey. So we dig deeper and try to find what the problem is. We also ask various questions, and we're able to deduce the percentage of people that may probably live in the next 2 years. We try to dig deeper to find out why. A lot of people want to jump out. A lot of people just want to leave the country, so many things. So that's how we're able to also find solutions. What do we do? Because the people are not leaving because the workplace is not safe or is not good enough for them. They're leaving because, unfortunately, the company is situated in an unsafe country. So what do we do to retain these people? So it just opens our eyes to a lot of things. We're able to control attrition, right? We're able to make Paystack the best place to work. We're just able to do a lot of things. So we leverage on employee engagement surveys. We do it at intervals. We don't have a defined interval for now, but we're still just testing a lot of things. But yes, we definitely do that, and over time, it has opened our eyes to a lot of things and been able to sort a lot of issues.
All right,
Answer the question.
All right, put your hands together for Abiola. Thank you very much. We are very, very short on time, so we're going to take one more question. I'm terribly sorry, folks. Our last question. All right, now. Please, panelists, when you're responding, please, as quickly as you can. We're terribly sorry. You've just run out of time. All right, now.
Hi, my name is Priscilla. So, brief story, I used to work in the healthcare as a embryologist, sperm, egg, IVF, fertility stuff. So, for personal reasons, I want to move into tech. And I started learning, so my question is a beginner's question there. I started learning SQL. I don't know if that's the right thing to learn. Because should I first learn how to use the Excel and pivot table? I'm really new, and I've been learning SQL, and right now I think I'm learning regular expression and how to use that. So my question is, like, where do I start from? Master Excel, pivot table, then move to SQL, or just how do I figure it out?
Thank you very much.
Hi. Sorry, what's your name again?
Priscilla.
Priscilla, I think the first question you need to answer is, what exactly do you want to do with tech? No knowledge is lost, but I think that a better way to guide your thought is, what do I want to do, right? There is a lot you can do with tech. There's customer success, there is data, there is employee experience, which is HR, there is the business side, there's technology, there's growth, there's marketing. So the first question is, what do you want to do? You can go on now and learn as many as many as you're interested in, right? But you need to answer the question, what do I want to do? And maybe we can talk after.
All right, thank you very much, Sheikha.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to us. Again, this panel was how to use data to produce good work as a non-techie, right? And if you a few things to go away with, no matter no matter how non-technical your work is, you need data, right? It can be in just understanding what you're saying or knowing how to ask the right questions. So please, as you leave here today, put that at the back of your mind. Thank you very much.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands up. Paris Wilson, Sheikha Ibojo. Please keep put your hands together for them until they sit. Thank you so much. All right, thank you very much, folks. Absolutely beautiful. All right, that reminds me that we have a very quick 5-minute break. It was supposed to be longer, but you have asked questions and you don't have time anymore. So yeah, we have a very quick 5-minute break, and we want to use that break for networking, so that you can ask questions amongst yourselves. There are people amongst you who have been data scientists for the past 30 years. How are you doing, sir? Hold on, sir. So reach out to them. This is your time. If you're curious about how to get into tech as a data scientist, here is your time. So we have 5 minutes. The people in front have already started ignoring me, so please join them as well. We have a quick game. Guys, please hold on. We have a game. Try as much as possible to network people and get as many cards as you can, as many businesses as you can. The person with the most number of cards gets a very special gift. This I promise you. Right? Are you there? Are you with me? Alright, so it's networking but with an incentive. Okay, please don't just sit in your quadrant, move around, mix and match. We will be back in 8 minutes. So we will be back by, in 5 minutes actually. We'll be back by 2:45. Thank you very much, folks.
Well, I've tried to do this on my own for a long time now. It wasn't coming forth until I got to know about Piggy Bank last year, September. And I saved with them originally. I was able to save enough to buy a land. I said, if I can buy a land with Piggyvest, that means I can also buy a car. and I started saving for the car. And I said, okay, let me make it a surprise. Let me save towards my wedding anniversary. And then before the wedding anniversary, the car came, and here we are today. It's wonderful.
Savings is generally tagged as very hard to do because of all the discipline that comes with it. So what we've done is create a platform that basically simplifies the process. Essentially, PiggyVest helps you plan your finances better. So there are a number of stories that are very, very, very interesting for us, particularly the man who bought a car for his wife. He reached out to me personally, so he's like, he really wants to do this. He's been saving this money for a very long time. And, it was a surprise to his wife. It was in his church. He made the pastor prayed for him, announced the car. He came and did the dedication. The wife was so surprised and happy. And it just made me feel like, yes, we are running PiggyVest as a company, but there is an impact. This platform has provided them the opportunity to be able to put money aside in a very simple and easy way. In the first year, we're only able to help our users save 21 million for the entire year. But now, we're doing over 20 billion. It wouldn't have been possible for us to start PiggyVest at the time if there was no Paystack.
There are a number of ways Paystack helps PiggyVest. For example, off the top of my head, regulatory requirements, verification of our users are all done on Paystack to power our disbursements for the users to get the money, which is the end goal of the PiggyVest chain, really. Paystack does that.
It was the unique selling point for us that you don't have to think about your savings, just automate it using this. They made those processes very, very easy for us. So if funds are being sent to a particular customer and the customer hasn't received, you're able to check.
Solving a user's problem is very fast. So we have a working system and we've been doing this for 5 years together. PiggyVest's success is largely built on Paystack's success. We have grown and even at the scale at over 2 million users, Paystack is able to power that for us.
You should definitely do business with Paystack because they make your life easier.
So if Paystack tells you this thing is live, it means it's working.
That saves us a whole lot of stress.
A lot of providers like ship early, ship fast, and all of that. But then you have issues, you iterate, you go back and forth. Once Paystack tells you it's working, it works.
It's not just about enabling, collections or transfers or whatever it is. Support is key. There would not always be an uptime. But Paystack has invested so much in its support that you can trust that your business is in good hands.
Sometimes it's difficult to remember that Paystack powers other companies because of the synergy our teams have. Paystack is very intentional about making sure their merchants succeed. Paystack gives us data to help us make critical decisions. In 5 years we've been doing this together, that has really helped.
It just works. You sleep well.
They're the best guys.
services. All right, over to you.
Thank you very much, Toba. We're waiting. Can I continue? All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the intro, Toba, and thank you to all our panelists. So as Toba said, we'll be talking about data as a resource for building services. And I want to go ahead and just jump straight into it.
Sorry, guys. It was my fault.
Sorry, yeah, it was his fault. All right, we're going to jump straight into it. We are working on a limited time schedule. So hi, everyone. Let's start by going around and everyone to share more about what you do and how data plays a role in that.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole. I currently lead the observability team at Paystack. And what my team basically does is help Paystack team, both engineering and product, understand how their services are performing and benchmark their performance and things like that. So we are in charge of technology and processes. I would say if we have this specific Paystack product, every time a customer comes to use it, that product works properly. If it doesn't work properly, these are the things that the team needs to do to fix it as quickly as possible. So for us, the foundation of our work is data, because we're gathering data from the services that we're running, right? First of all, and then because we have all these processes and stuff in place to gather this data, we also measure how that helps the team. So how quickly the teams actually know when there's a problem, how quickly do we actually solve problems when they come up for customers and commercials. So we gather data is on two different levels. First, even measuring system performance, and then next measuring the performance of the processes that we put in place to monitor data services.
Hi everyone. What I do at InterSwitch is APIs typically. My role, the API marketplace, was typically born out of my previous role, right? So a quick story that is primarily InterSwitch used to resell P services as APIs before the last financial year, right? And those services were typically payouts, airtime recharge, and bills payment typically. Recently, or most recently, we decided to break down the company, as it were, to resell each of our services from the 6 different business lines as APIs in the form of microservice behind the scenes. And to break that down, InterSwitch is divided into 6 businesses, like I said. One of the core businesses is typically your payment processing, which is your bank-to-bank processing today. The second one is typically your industry verticals, where you find that InterSwitch typically processes or does the end-to-end value chain for you when you sort of get to the airport and you want to make a payment for either your ticket or whatever it might be. The third one is typically merchant acquiring, where we do business with people like Paystack. We typically acquire their aggregated payments and we typically terminate them at the switch for you. The remaining 3 businesses typically align with bank payments, like your digital cards today or your physical cards today that you see called VEV. And then the remaining 2 are typically digital commerce. Now, all of these services, what we have done with them is we have said, how can we enable more startups in the lending space and the digital ecosystem to basically be able to go to market quickly. And so what we did was we sort of did a survey, right? And we sort of said to ourselves, you know what, we might as well just build all these services as microservices and resell them as APIs, as we have done with our partners like Paystacks and Flutterwaves and the rest. All right. So today you would find that a couple of businesses would come out and say, oh, I want to start this new idea, or I have this idea in mind, and what they do typically is they just come to us. We already have this service as a B2B channel, or we already have this technology, and we say, you know, just plug in, play, go to market, do whatever you might want to do, and just go live and be you, right? So typically, that's typically what the API marketplace is. And also on the flip side, you typically can build API services or build your own microservice or have your own personal idea, and you want to make money off of it, right? You don't need to start your own startup. You might as well just come to InterSwitch and say, okay guys, we have this API, and we sort of vet it to our own processes, and we sort of put it on our API marketplace, right? So typically we're enabling people sort of be buoyant with whatever they do. So typically a developer doesn't need to go and found a company or start to put processes in place for him to resell his idea. For example, there's someone that says he has the idea to sort of measure how electricity is being used today in our houses, right? How he has basically picked this whole idea, and he has built an API that typically helps you measure how much does the fridge take if the fridge is on for an hour. See? That's typically the kind of idea that we're sort of like trying to put out in place and say, okay, we're reselling these services to it as APIs to other potential customers.
Hi everyone. So object and then you can use them to do whatever you want to do in the insurance experience. But today I work on a product called Mesh. So Mesh is like Mesh is going to be like one of the engines that should power the metaverse essentially. So the metaverse is supposed to be like this virtual universe where when you're tired of being in reality, you can put on the headset and go there and meet friends from all over the world and communicate, collaborate, just interact with different people in a virtual environment. So we're building, well, the Mesh team is like a full team. There's like a Mesh app, there's like a bunch of other stuff that make up the entire Mesh experience. But I'm building the cloud, I'm on the team that builds part of the cloud services. So I write some code sometimes, not too much nowadays anymore. And then like compliance work. So that's what makes up like what I do on my team. And I mean, using data could be on multiple fronts. I mean, if I'm supposed to be a backend engineer, I'm going to be querying databases. I'm going to be writing code to, retrieve data from somewhere or write data to somewhere else or stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing a lot of manipulation in code with data that I get, because I mean, at the end of the day, data is kind of like how we make sense of the world. And if we're going to be existing in a virtual world, everything that is going to be represented has to be represented somehow. So yeah, I do some of those manipulations. On the infra side, not really so much, except maybe when you now start thinking about like the entire DevOps thing, and then you're also thinking about being on call and then checking that the service is down, because I mean, data is how you know that your service is not working and your customers are about to come and cut off your head. So there's that. And then, yeah, same thing with, compliance. Just monitoring in general is how you know that maybe there's a risk somewhere or there's downtime and stuff like that. So all these things help us know, either when you're writing code to push out a feature for a customer, or you're trying to check how the service that you're building is performing for that same customer. But these are things that I do within my role as well.
Awesome, thank you. People have heard about. And so you know, and even at Paystack, the observability function is relatively new. So what brought about the need for that team to exist, and what has changed since that team has existed at Paystack?
Okay, so in a sense, like the team hasn't always existed, but like the functions have existed because observability stems from basically monitoring your system, so monitoring and logging, which we've always had like at Paystack. Well, I think the reason why the team was formed was because one, like observability is part of like DevOps and infrastructure, and we kind of wanted to like really prioritize it, meaning that like we don't want to have any like competing goals, because if I'm also doing DevOps, if there's a DevOps goal that is more important, like right now, I'm going to prioritize that, meaning that observability gets deprioritized. And what that means, like ultimately, is that like availability, like Paystack's availability is deprioritized, Paystack's reliability is deprioritized. So we really wanted to like focus on that so that we could give our customers the best experience. In terms of like what has changed, I think we just have more data on how like our systems are performing and like where the problem is. Like in the past, like it used to be so difficult to like respond to incidents because there's an incident going on, like people can't pay, and we're like, what's the problem? And we're looking everywhere, combing through logs. But now like we have a system in place for like engineers to go on call and to support them when they're on call as well. Our tools are like much easier to use and interact with and to like answer questions that we have. So like when something is going on at place that like if for any reason like you can't pay, we most likely know what's going on and we're already trying to fix it. Like we don't have like as many blind spots as we used to before, which is great because like you guys can have a better experience when you use Paystack. So I think that's like the biggest difference that we have now.
Okay, awesome. Tochi, question for you. Tochi, question for you. As a PM, what would you say? So across all these various products that you've managed and everything, what are some, I guess, key data points for you, pre-launch and post-launch of a new product? Like, what are you looking to measure to know that a product launch is successful?
I mean, that's an interesting question, to be fair. Before okay, you know what, let me start with qualitative before you actually start, right? Using the place that I work as a use case, right? Interestingly, we have all these very interesting products, right, at TheSQLTribe. But if you were gonna say that you want to move into a new market, say, for example, moving into Uganda, right? You have all of these products set up, yeah? And you sort of want to go in there because you feel like you can just fulfill a immediate need. However, if you don't do the data analysis properly on how they actually carry out payments in Uganda, you have failed in product localization, right? So my point there is really, how does a person or how does a business actually use or collect payment in a place like Uganda? It's sometimes actually unique to how you collect payments in Nigeria, right? And again, that's why I say before you actually go into that new market. Now, after you launch, or say you launched a very brand new product, say probably like my API marketplace now, you want to know what are the I guess. Okay. Now I sound better, yeah? Okay. So, when you launch or post-launch, you want to actually find out what are those APIs, right, that people actually use, or people actually want to use, or what are those star APIs that you really need to measure or you need to work out the needs, right? Now, for every geopolitical zone that InterSwitch is currently in, you would find that it's unique, right? So say for Nigeria right now, we have payouts, right? And I give you a very, very interesting example, right? There was a day, I think between 2 and 3 p.m. in the afternoon, where I think we actually did sort of like an update on quick cloud service, right? And it turns out that that update actually affected someone I know here, right? So 10,326 100,000 transactions in volume actually did not pass through, between 2 and 3, right? Now, I'm actually looking at the person right now, and I know she doesn't know. So interestingly, right, you need to sort of like measure whatever you do, right? When you build a product, say it's an API, say it's a customer-facing product, whatever you do, you need to be able to measure how it affects that other person, right? What
make it better and give people more things that they want in the metaverse. So what does that look like today? Like what kinds of processes and systems do you have for that?
So okay, so today with mesh being mesh and us having like really able to say too much so that they don't start communicating. So me working on mesh means like at the end of the day it's a regular cloud service as well. So you still have to think about things that you think about for other services on a normal day, like okay, make sure that your telemetry is stable in the sense that when there's an incident, you know exactly like when there's that incident and then you need to go fix it, and also maybe know like the severity of that incident. So if maybe not that bad, pay attention to it in like maybe 2 hours because yes.
Sorry everyone, just give us a second. Alright. Sorry, we live in Nigeria. So, if you're not Nigerian, this is not something that happens all the time. Wink, wink. Right, so I'm so sorry about that. While I was trying to sort this out, can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Yes, I have a pretty loud voice. So while I was trying to sort the microphone issue out, I want to say we should go back to the next work. No, are we good?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Guys, you give one answer.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay.
Alright, so Adora is going to try to speak very loudly and hope that you hear. If you cannot, I have a pretty loud voice. I will interpret.
Can people hear me at the back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was talking about telemetry. So let's say you have the service, and then your telemetry pipeline. You want to assume you want to assume that your telemetry pipeline is working, so that if there's an
And so like based on maybe the previous run, you can kind of infer whether there's something wrong with a particular service because, okay, I was trying to run a something scenario, buy a car scenario, and then something happened on the fifth step, and then you can just go check if there's something wrong. And this is where query languages come in. We're talking about. And this is where query languages come in if we're talking about tools. So depending on in your telemetry pipeline, depending on where your data flows to, sort of determines the type of query language that you write. So if your data flows to some kind of tool that uses SQL, I don't know how you people pronounce it, but I'll just say SQL. If you use a product that flows through a tool that is using SQL, then you're going to have to write a lot of SQL to figure out whatever is happening there. But then there are still tools like there's still something called Custo. So if you are using something that maybe flows through that product, for example, you will be writing KQL, which is supposed to be Custo query language, and then different tools would require you to write different query languages. But I think that like programming languages, these query languages fundamentally are designed the same way, just might differ in syntax, one way or another. Another thing when you're thinking about services and data is if you're building a service and let's say you are private preview right now and you have like 5 customers, and these 5 customers, or rather you've onboarded like 5 businesses, well, customers because they're customers, right? And then these 5 customers have maybe approximately 100,000 users. What this means is that at every single time, you don't expect more than 500,000 people to be hitting your service. But let's say you want to go public preview, or you're no longer doing private beta now, you want to do public beta, or you want to become GA, you want to go GA and be generally available. You have to be sure that whatever service that you're building can scale. So you might need to run a couple scale tests on that service as well to check, let's say, if I'm maybe using 1,000 VMs here, I want to see how my service performs. And if I'm using 1,000 VMs, basically, how much CPU am I going to be using? How much memory am I going to be using? If a customer wants to ask me for quota to be able to support 5 million users, based on the data that I have seen, based on how many scale tests I have run, and how I know that my service performs at scale, how many more VMs do I need to go and beg Azure for to give me so that I can I can make that promise to my customer and that can work? Or maybe I'm testing for scale. What's the latency for when I perform this action? If my SLA is that I'm supposed to, you should be able to do this in 1,000 milliseconds, and then my latency is telling me 13,000 milliseconds, there's a problem when I run my skill test. So that can even help me know what I can promise my customer, and also maybe if there are some developers that you need to go and hold their shirts because they need to write better code. So different types of things. And obviously, if you're doing scale tests, you are still going to be writing these queries, right? So you're going to be dealing with a lot of query languages. You're also probably going to be dealing with Excel. I'm saying it again. Because when you run these queries and you export them, somehow you are going to, and you export the result, somehow you're going to be, you should understand what that data is. Another thing that you can be making use of, well, on my team, we have these dashboards, right? And then when we put like whatever data it is on dashboards, they sort of help us know, okay, so this is the latency here, this is, the CPU, and the max CPU, used here, and all these kinds of things that just help us actually know, these are the number of requests that failed, and these were the, 500 here, 400 here, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Just so we have these dashboards as well. I don't know how other people do it. Maybe you have to go create those things yourself. But those things are also things that when you are either running a skill test or even just trying to monitor your service generally, helps you understand how this thing is performing. The last thing I want to say as well is in the building parts, because I'm talking about the monitoring for like a while. In the building parts now, you might be, I work at Microsoft and I use only Azure things. So I work with Cosmos DB a lot. And with Cosmos DB, I might be either doing, I might be doing relational or non-relational databases. But the point is, I'm querying data, I'm querying for data, I'm adding data, I'm doing all these things all the time. What that means is, apart from knowing the query languages, because I'm not going to be in some tool actually writing select from whatever, I'm actually in an IDE writing code, I need to know the APIs and like how to call them for the kind of request that I want to create. So yeah, query languages and APIs, I would say, and dashboards are the basic things that I would say you need.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Is it? Okay. All right. Thank you. We have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to ask one more question before we throw it over to the audience. But for all three of you, you mentioned yourself that sometimes you have developers that you'll have to hold by their shift because you need better monitoring, better logging, and you need to build that into the systems that they are building as well. You all work at some companies now where some of these processes are a bit more normal. Maybe people are more used to following these systems. But what would your advice be to somebody who is trying to get their product teams or their engineering teams to, think about their data more and how they're reporting on it?
I don't think it's something that you can run away from even at the beginning, because it just helps you understand how things work. It's like there's no telemetry in your service, you are not logging anything, nobody knows when something is working or not. It's not going to work sometimes, and then when it doesn't work, the pain is not knowing why it doesn't work. So there's some things that you just like have to do from the very beginning, even if you feel like it's taking so much time from you and you want to ship because people are holding your wig or they want to remove it from your head. There are just some things that maybe that's where prioritizing comes in. There are some things that just have to go. Like you have to set up processes that help you know whether you are periodic. There's a thing that you're running periodically that helps you know whether your service is alive or not. I think that's kind of, maybe call it a heartbeat or anything else you want to call it. Having like that kind of heartbeat thing that helps you know when your service is alive or not is very important at any point. Now maybe secondary things like maybe testing at scale. If you're not trying to scale yet, there's no reason why you should be thinking about having a process that does that. But the basic things like having a health check or a heartbeat, whatever it is, having a heartbeat that helps you know whether your service is alive, having a health check that helps you know whether your service is alive but returning only errors, because there's also that. And having all these things just helps you know how your service is performing at any point in time so that you can act on it and you don't have very angry customers.
Same question? I think for us here, the way we see it is, as we continue to grow, you need to sort of like, I said earlier that for a customer, they failed transactions between 2 and 3 p.m. and I could tell you the exact number, 10,326 transactions failed. That's because I get an hourly alert on every API service that we give to every customer. So for instance, for every service, whether it's bills payment, whether it's transfer service, whether it's airtime service, right? And we give to customers, and our customers are mostly businesses. So your banks today, right? We service them with these services, right? you want to be able to measure, are those transactions failing or are they going through, right? So every hour we get that alert or we put that alert on pause, right? Another thing for us is that we sort of like try to train our own data so that we can continue to scale and we can continue to give our customers, like I said, for me, as a product manager for the API marketplace, I'm more focused on businesses as opposed to individuals, right? So what can we give to our customers that typically enable their businesses grow? Say for instance, I'm doing some business, or my business is doing some business with say a piggyvest, for example, right? What sort of APIs can I, understanding their data or their services that, or their requests that they typically collect from us each and every hour, right? What can I give to them typically? That's something that we sort of like take into cognizance and we sort of like answer those requests, or before they even ask us, sort of like pose to them and say, you know what, we think you might need this, we might need that, and all of that. That's typically it.
Very quickly.
Yeah, so I think like the first thing is just like recognizing the value of what you want to do. When we started at Paystack, like the most important thing for me was like letting other people kind of understand why this thing is important, because you're going to be disrupting their flow of work. For engineers, there's extra lines of code that they're going to have to write. You know, for product managers, there are other things that they're going to have to like provide to you when they're like developing like product specs, right? So just first of all, like communicating that value of like, look, we can't go to production if we're not going to know what's happening. Like, what's the point in the first place? And like when you're able to like get other people on board, it's just like also helping them to like use your services like as easily as possible. So if you're thinking of like tooling that you need, like what's the easiest thing that your engineers, like your product teams are going to be able to use, and then helping them like onboard, educating them. And I think like if you're the person who is kind of just driving this thing within your company, it's also like going back to do like a lot of research about like what is the best like way forward. Like you're not just going to come and bring up something and then, you know, 2 like months or 3 months down the line, nobody can rely on it, right? So you're also asking questions like, okay, like InterSwitch, like what does InterSwitch use? What does Microsoft use? And where does that fit into our own pipeline, right? And as you know, kind of think about data and think about the kinds of things that you want to see and make that decision, then just keep communicating the value, keep using it yourself so that like you can improve and just like keep helping people, because your company will grow, your company will scale, and your needs will change, and you need to like keep adjusting to that. So I think.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Please put your hands together for them. All righty, awesome stuff. We are going to, I'm looking at you, sir, fix the mic. Thank you so much. He's a great guy. Put your hands together for him. Enemies. All right. Is this better? All right. Thank you very much. Very quickly, we're going to go into questions. Those of you that were here for the first session, you know how we do it. We'll start from this line. Well, we start from this line. So we'll start from this line and then come back to the other line. Excuse me. Yes. Okay. Yeah, there's a law that says that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Those of you that code, you understand this very well. Cool. So we have free internet. You can connect to the Marriott Bonvoy conference network. Yeah, after you do that, a login screen should appear. If it doesn't, you should head to cnn.com. Okay, and a login screen will then appear. Once you're there, choose access code login and enter the following number. Oh, are you following me? Oh, you guys don't need internet? Oh, what two rich people. I love it. Put your hands together for yourselves. If you need internet, just reach out to me. Apparently the rest of you are too rich. Let me just take it again. It's Marriott Bonvoy _ conference network. Once you connect,
I should go back.
Okay, speaker, thank you so much. Yeah, a login screen should appear. If it doesn't, head to cnn.com and a login screen will appear. After that, just enter the access number 404. Once again, that's 404 55034. I'll take that again. 404 55034. All right, now that you're using our free internet, please follow us on IG, on Instagram. What's the problem? Sorry, my panelists, guys, I apologize. Follow us on IG, that's Instagram at TheSQLTribe, and on Twitter at TheSQL_tribe. Please follow us now. We can tell if you have not, we have your data. We don't, I'm joking, guys. We can't do that now. Adora, can we do that? No? She says no. All right, I should have made this announcement earlier and I apologize. The bathrooms are out the door to your left, and then you walk straight down and then turn right. That's what he said. It's very confusing, but once you get outside, you can ask any of the ladies or men wearing the SQL Tribe shirts and he will direct you, except the sound man. Don't ask him anything. Alrighty, awesome stuff. Alright, so we're going to go very quickly. We are going to go very quickly into our questions. So on this side, who has questions? Show of hands, please. You have questions very quickly because we do not have a lot of time. Nobody has questions on this side. We have one at the back. Sir, do you have any questions this time? No, cool. We have a question over there. Awesome. This side, any questions? Nobody? Awesome. Any questions at the front? No one has any questions here? All right, awesome stuff. Cool, we have more time there. All right, our sole questionnaire. How are you, ma'am? Please stand up, state your name and your question as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Blessing and I'm a social media manager. So my question is for Adora. Hi, Adora. So I know that when you're trying to launch a new business or a product, the smart thing to do is to do a competitor analysis. So you see what's already existing in the market, see how well it's doing or how bad it is, or how well it's not doing. But in your case with Mesh, I'm assuming there are no already existing alternatives. So where do you get that competitor analysis data from? Do you just wing it, or how do you do it? How do you do it without getting data from a competitor analysis?
All right, thank you very much. I'll come to you. Adiofodik. Oh, you must walk out. All right.
Hi. Unfortunately, I do not answer because unfortunately, I don't have the answer to this question because I'm an engineer. I didn't write or I don't work on or rather at that time when this whole thing started, I can't say for now because now I don't even know my role. But when the whole mesh thing started, when we were building it before we launched, I was only writing code. They said do this thing and I did it. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question for you the way you like.
All right, thank you very much, Adora. Please put your hands together for her now. That was a beautiful answer. Thank you very much. Since we don't have any, sir, I see you. I like him so. You want to answer the question? All right, go ahead, sir.
Hi, Blessing. Good afternoon. I'm going to just try to answer your question. So I'm going to break it into two verticals, right? The one is you have launched that product, right? And it's new in the market is the second one. As a company, say if I want to use InterSuite, for example, how do you sort of like understand the product that goes out for the first time? It's never been done before, right? Really and truly, you are going to have to really, go through the storm of those first 6 months, right? Understanding how your users have basically accepted that product, first of all. Now, the second side of things is, what are they really doing with that product? That's really what you need to measure. What are they really doing with that product? Sometimes you build a product and it's meant to deliver X value. However, people are using it to do something else. Okay, let me give you an example. Some people actually use their phones as actual mirrors. Do you know that? Their cameras. Do you know people use it as actual mirrors? Do you know that? Now, some people don't use it to take pictures. You will never find a selfie on their phones. Do you understand that? And that's something that Apple has taken into recognition, and that's why Apple has created some features in your camera application. Do you understand that? So again, you need to sort of put yourself as a product person or as an engineer or say developer or whatever you are as you're building services. You need to put yourself in the shoes of that customer, right? Say it's a new product. If it's a product that typically has competitors in the market already, you already know what the competition is not doing and what you can go out there and do easily. So with new products, it's quite different. You see what I'm saying? I hope I was able to answer your question, Blessing.
Awesome. So put your hands together for him, please. I will take our last question, but before that, I would like to talk about one of our very dear sponsors. Our lead sponsor is Paystack. Put your hands together. Thank you very much. Oh wow, I see we have some lovers of Paystack here. Paystack helps businesses all around the world get paid fast, and we are very appreciative of them for sponsoring this here event. So please once again put your hands together for them. We also have PiggyVest. PiggyVest is a dear friend of the brand, of the company, and PiggyVest is a tool to help you save, combining discipline and flexibility. So once again, put your hands together for PiggyVest. All right. And our last sponsor is Boyans. Clap now, guys. It's because I cannot move, you guys. I will have come to my people in the middle. Boyans is a tool that helps if you want to build stuff with or without code. Well, without code, Boyans is a tool for you. So please put your hands together for them. Alrighty. Cool. Our last question. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
It's you. Yes. All right, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Just a quick question for Ibukun. So while I was here, like I just had a look through your LinkedIn, just did some quick research. So you've done a bit of DevOps. But what I wanted to understand really was, is in your current role as observability lead, what are like the key metrics you're measured on? What are those key metrics? If anything ever happens to them, you might be in trouble.
Everything?
Right, there are 4 golden signals. And the idea behind that, like if you're measuring these things across like your services and your applications, then you have a good level of coverage. So the first is like error rate. So like if you come and use Paystack, if you get a 200, like that's good. If you get a 500, that's a problem. The more 500s people get, the more our error rate is, right? The second thing is latency. So latency is like how quickly do we respond to you. So we want you to like pay and you're good, like we don't want you to be sitting on our site waiting for, you know, like your payments to go through. The third thing is throughput. So like that helps us understand like the volume of requests that we're getting, and that helps us to plan like capacity, right? So if we have a system that has like a maximum threshold of like 510 requests, because like 10 of those requests are going to fail, or maybe like 20 of those requests are going to fail. So being able to like understand that helps us to, I guess, like plan for people who are going to come and use Paystack. And the last thing is like saturation. So for instance, like people are talking about like CPU usage, memory usage, because like if you go above like certain thresholds, then your system will begin to like either give errors or be slow, that kind of thing. So I'm measuring all these 4 things. But then those are like generic things, right? There are things that we specifically want to know about like the Paystack products that let's just say that like we're basically in trouble, right? So if transaction rates are going down, like transfer rates are going down, success rates are going down, those things we now customize for ourselves. Because like what happens when you set up an observability tool is that they will give you these things like for free. Like they will be collecting these metrics and put it on a graph, you can, you know, have monitors. But like those things are very generic and they don't help us like solve problems really quick, because if we have, so we have like microservices, right? So a microservice is a service that does like really like one thing. So if we had like a transaction microservice and that's all that it does, if the error rate is high, then we know that that's transactions. But like at Paystack, we still have like a concept of like monoliths, where like one service is doing several things, right? And if we know that like error rate is is problematic for this one service, how do we know exactly what to fix? We still have to spend time like digging into the system to find, what the problem is. So what we do in that case, we don't just rely on like generic metrics. We also define metrics for ourselves to say, for this specific thing that a customer or a merchant is going to do on Paystack, we want to track its success. And I think that kind of differs from like team to team, because like different teams are, responsible for like different products, basically, or different features. So that's on a product level. Now for my team, like I think the metrics that we care about are like mean time to detect, mean time to respond, mean time to resolve. And what those things are is like mean time to detect is when there's a problem, how quickly do we know? So like if it takes us 1 hour to know that there's a problem, even if we fix it in 5 minutes, we've still been down for 1 hour, right? So we need that number to be as low as possible. When it starts getting high, like my team in lockdown is going to ask me like, what's up, like what are the engineers doing? Like our system is not like sending out these messages quickly enough, or are people just not responding to these messages? Right. The second is like mean time to response, which is an engineer gets an alert on his phone or his email. How quickly can he respond to that alert? How quickly can he get on it? How quickly can he like escalate to the next person, or how quickly can he bring everybody together? Because like there's a process for responding to incidents, right? You can't just sit down in your own house and just be doing this thing. Well, Paystack is on fire, nobody else knows. Like, what's going to happen? Like, customer success needs to tell customers that we have a problem. Product managers need to reach out to, So we have all these things in place, and we need to measure how quickly, like people respond to incidents, because ultimately it adds to our mean time to resolve. Now, mean time to resolve is how quickly do we now fix the issue. And fixing the issue doesn't necessarily mean that like all is well, but at least like customers can pay. So if it means that like we need to spin up like an extra service or like an extra instance, or we need to move to like a disaster recovery instance, then we're going to do that and fix the problem later, because we need our mean time to resolve to be as low as possible, right? So I think for my team, those 3 things are very important, but for different teams within Paystack, each team has like different metrics that they track in addition to like the 4 golden signals.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That is all we have for this panel session. Please put your hands together. So guys, please put your hands together very well. They've been absolutely amazing. Even with all the stress of Tolu. Yes, please put your hands together for Tolu, for Dora, for Tochukwu. Thank you very much. Wow, thank you, Sheikh. Love it. All right, folks, we're going to have a very quick coffee break. And when we come back, we're going to go into our keynote address. It's very quick, it's 5 minutes max. We want to get out of here as quickly as possible. So here's how it is going to happen. Please, we're going to, actually, you know what, you can just go outside. So the coffee is, apologies. The coffee stand is set up outside. So you're going to follow just go outside. The ladies or gentlemen in TheSQLTribe shirts are going to show you where your coffee is. Please, 5 minutes and we're back, because we do not have enough time. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for yourselves, guys. Absolutely amazing. All right, coffee time.
Well, I've tried to do this on my own for a long time now. It wasn't coming forth until I got to know about piggy bank last year, September. And I saved with them originally. I was able to save enough to buy a land.
Came, announced the car, they came, they did the dedication, the wife was so surprised and happy, and it just made me feel like, yes, we are running PiggyVest as a company, but there is an impact. You know, this platform has provided them the opportunity to be able to put money aside in a very simple and easy way. In the first year, we're only able to help our users save 21 million for the entire year. But now, yeah, we're doing over 20 million. It wouldn't have been possible for us to start PiggyVest at the time if there was no Paystack.
There are a number of ways Paystack helps PiggyVest. For example, off the top of my head, regulatory requirements, verification of our users are all done on Paystack to power our disbursements for the users to get the money, which is the end goal of the PiggyVest chain, really. Paystack does that.
It was the unique selling point for us that you don't have to think about your savings, just automate it using this. They made those processes very, very easy for us. So if funds are being sent to a particular customer and the customer hasn't received, you're able to check.
Solving a user's problem is very fast. So we have a working system and we've been doing this for 5 years together. PiggyVest success is largely built on Paystack success. We have grown and even at the scale at over 2 million users. Paystack is able to power that for us.
You should definitely do business with Paystack because they make your life easier.
So if Paystack tells you this thing is live, it means it's working.
That saves us a whole lot of stress.
A lot of providers like ship early, ship fast, and all of that. But then you have issues, you iterate, you go back and forth. Once Paystack tells you it's working, it works.
It's not just about enabling, collections or transfers or whatever it is. Support is key. There would not always be an uptime. But Paystack has invested so much in its support that you can trust that your business is in good hands.
Sometimes it's difficult to remember that Paystack powers other companies because of the synergy our teams have. Paystack is very intentional about making sure their merchants succeed. Paystack gives us data to help us make critical decisions. In 5 years we've been doing this together, that has really helped.
It just works. You sleep well.
They're the best guys.
All right. All right, folks. We will start shortly in earnest, but before then, we have a short video from one of our sponsors. All right, energy. Hey, oh, DJ. I'm so sorry, guys. We're doing DJ track 2 and it wasn't working well. Hi, folks. Hope you enjoyed lunch.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was good. Was it good?
Yes.
People here didn't like it. I'm so sorry. What would you have liked? Tiffany has promised us pounded yam and jollof rice. Do you want that? My sister, I see you. I would love jollof rice as well. All right, so we're going to play a very quick video from one of our sponsors, Paystack, featuring another sponsor, PiggyVest. So I guess it's all in the family. Very, very quickly, and once we're done with that, we are then going to go into our keynote interview, keynote part of the evening. This evening at this point, yes. Alrighty, very quick. DJ track 2. So please turn your attention to the multimedia screens or screen nearest to you.
It wasn't coming until I got to know about Piggy Bank last year. Well, I've tried to do this on my own for a long time now. It wasn't coming forth until I got to know about Piggy Bank last year, September. And I saved with them originally. I was able to save enough to buy a land. I said, if I can buy a land with PiggyVest, that means I can also buy a car. And I started saving for the car. And I said, okay, let me make it a surprise. Let me save towards my wedding anniversary.
What we've done is create a platform that basically simplifies the process. Essentially, PiggyVest helps you plan your finances better. So there are a number of stories that are very, very, very interesting for us, particularly the man who bought a car for his wife. He reached out to me personally, so he's like, he really wants to do this. He's been saving this money for a very long time. And, it was a surprise to his wife. It was in his church. He made the pastor prayed for him, announced the car. He came and did the dedication. The wife was so surprised and happy. And it just made me feel like, yes, we are running PiggyVest as a company, but there is an impact. This platform has provided them the opportunity to be able to put money aside in a very simple and easy way. In the first year, we're only able to help our users save 21 million for the entire year. But now, we're doing over 20 billion. It wouldn't have been possible for us to start PiggyVest at the time if there was no Paystack.
There are a number of ways Paystack helps PiggyVest. For example, off the top of my head, regulatory requirements, verification of our users are all done on Paystack to power our disbursements for the users to get the money, which is the end goal of the PiggyVest chain, really. Paystack does that.
It was the unique selling point for us that you don't have to think about your savings, just automate it using this. They made those processes very, very easy for us. So if funds are being sent to a particular customer and the customer hasn't received, you're able to check.
Solving a user's problem is very fast. So we have a working system and we've been doing this for 5 years together. PiggyVest success is largely built on Paystack success. We have grown and even at the scale at over 2 million users. Paystack is able to power that for us.
You should definitely do business with Paystack because they make your life easier.
So if Paystack tells you this thing is live, it means it's working.
That saves us a whole lot of stress.
A lot of providers like ship early, ship fast, and all of that. But then you have issues, you iterate, you go back and forth. Once Paystack tells you it's working, it works.
It's not just about enabling, collections or transfers or whatever it is. Support is key. There would not always be an uptime. But Paystack has invested so much in its support that you can trust that your business is in good hands.
Sometimes it's difficult to remember that Paystack powers other companies because of the synergy our teams have. Paystack is very intentional about making sure their merchants succeed. Paystack gives us data to help us make critical decisions. In 5 years we've been doing this together, that has really helped.
It just works. You sleep well.
They're the best guys.
All right, thank you very much for your time thus far. We're going to be as efficient as possible because time is fast spent. All right, I'm hoping that you are connecting very well. I see people having very deep conversations and deep connections. Next, we are going to have, as I said earlier, the keynote session, the fireside chat. And it's titled Abby's Incredible Journey to Becoming Africa's First Tableau Zen Master. Achievement really is. So I'm going to invite, our co-founder and, our founder and CEO. I'm so sorry. I thought you gave me equity. Absolutely sorry. It's everywhere we can find capital gains. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome our founder. Please put your hands together as I welcome our founder, Simile Oluwa Afolabi Jumbo. Please put your hands together for her. She sits. Alrighty. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to invite our keynote speaker. Please, we've had this conversation multiple times. Tife, love it. Thank you so much. Guys, we've said this 200 times. Let's not waste time. Think about it. It's your favorite footballer, it's your favorite Nollywood actor, it's your favorite musician. Put your hands together just like that. Now, Abisola is an analytics professional with over 6 years of experience. With over 6 years experience in driving growth for technology-based businesses. Her interests lie in the intersection of technology, business, social impact, and community. She discovered Tableau in 2017. That's important to note it. When she started working in the technology sector and has since gone on to found 2 leading analytics and visualization communities, Lagos Tableau User Group. Sir, here we walk. I promise you. Hey, our keynote speaker. I'm so sorry, guys. Here we walk. This I promise. Hello? 12. All right. Apologies, they took me back to my coach. All right. She has gone on to found 2 leading analytics and visualization communities. The first, which is the Lagos Tableau User Group, and visualize in Lagos within 3 years. She's also Africa's first Zen Master. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Abisola Oni. Thank you very much. All right. So before we continue with the keynote, I'm very sorry. I just want to know how many people have actually gotten the card I told you to get. I asked a few of you to get business cards. You will win something, I promise you. How many people got business cards? It seems what got business cards. What? How many business cards did you get? I saw you raising up your hand, sir. How many business cards? Is that Waka or 5? 8 Waka. Gotcha. Who else got business cards? But I was told that I'm too archaic, that we don't do business cards anymore. Is LinkedIn, is you, ma, you can't look back. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram handles, how many did you get? What I'm asking you, we said we should go and look for, there's price to be won. None? Okay. How many did you get, ma'am? You got 18. What's your name? Oh, 1. I thought you said 81. Is that? Ma, you're the only one back in here. What's your name, ma'am? Omonigo. People have beautiful names in this country. Oh my God. It's not like my own name, Toba. Folks, nobody wants to win our prize. They don't know what, you just missed out on the goodie bag. You just lost.
They don't care.
Alrighty, I will hand over to Simi now to conduct the competition. Please, once again, put your hands together for these lovely people.
Hi everyone. So I hope you're having a good time. Alright, so let's get into it. Yes, I have with me here the amazing Abby. Abby, you studied electrical engineering in school. I think I'm just very curious as to how you did that transition. So for context, you went to Covenant University. So what was the transition? Sorry to everybody that did not go to Covenant. So can you just take us through your journey from like studying electrical engineering to becoming like Tableau master, which is really a big deal. Like she's the first. I don't think people understand how big a deal it is. So just take us through that journey.
Hi. Hi guys. Okay, I studied electrical engineering in uni, and my first job out of uni was I was working in procurement for NYC, and then after that, someone contacted me in LinkedIn, and I got another job in procurement at Maersk Line, the shipping terminal. So I had done 1 year NYC, 1 year at Maersk or APM terminals, and I thought like, okay, I haven't really used my engineering degree, and if you have Nigerian parents, you probably can relate. So they're like, oh, there's this thing, this course or whatever. Bottom line, I resigned from my job and I went to, I'll think about it like a gap year. So I went to work at a power plant in Delta, Ughelli. So I did that for about 9 months. It was interesting, but I realized that that was not for me. So at the end of 2016, my classmates from uni was like, oh, they were hiring at this company. So I'm like, okay, no problem, let me go and do the interview. So my first interview, they asked me to come and talk about Tableau. I never heard what it was, quite frankly. But I managed to put together a deck, and I went to show them. For some reason, I guess I scammed them. So they invited me the second time, and I went to talk some more. And then they gave me the job. So the role was, I was supposed to be leading their Tableau practice, right? Because they were a Tableau reseller in Nigeria, and I think there were just 2 in Nigeria. And before you sell something, you need to know how to use it, because we're selling to banks, to government organizations, multinationals. So you go to the client side. So the first process of like prospecting is you are reaching out to people on LinkedIn, telling them you want to sell to them. So you reach out to people, try to understand their problems, know if you can solve it for them. And then at some point you get an invite to their office, you go and demo to their stakeholders. Some deals will go through, some deals will fall through the cracks, but that's how I learned Tableau basically, or that's how I got into data, because I had to learn how to do the software, because I can't go and fumble when I'm in demo, right? So that's like 2017, 2018, and then I took it more seriously. So there's something called Makeover Monday, where every week they share like so when I started learning Tableau, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, I asked a lot of questions. They have like a Tableau public community forums. You can ask a question there, people will answer you. Like, I think what drew me to Tableau in particular is that people were just always so kind. There's so much content on the internet for free, like that really helps me. And you can ask a random question on Twitter and someone will answer you, they will tell you to email them, they will tell you to book a call, like wow, you guys are so nice. So anyway, I did Makeover Monday consistently for 6 months, every week. It wasn't easy, it was very difficult, but what that helped me do was to really strengthen my analytical muscle, like, and how to do storytelling, how to dig into data, how to look for insights, right? Because they will give you a data set, and then they will tell you to either redo an existing chart, right, so that you can find something that was wrong with it, and then try and tell the story differently. So by the time you do that like every week, some things will definitely stick. So I did that. Then I moved from there to a tech startup, retail tech startup. I was doing business analytics, and if you join a startup, sometimes you're doing any work. Do you get? So I was doing business analytics, I was doing customer development, I was doing telesales manager, I was doing all sorts of things, right? I didn't use Tableau as much in that role. I used another tool called Domo. But once you learn one of them, you get to pick up any other one. So if you learn Tableau, you can learn Power BI, you can learn Domo, it's easy. Okay, it's not easy, but it's not familiar. And then I left the retail tech startup and I went to Paystack. At Paystack, I was doing product specialist, and we're managing like key merchants. And of course, when you're talking to merchants, you need to come with data. And then we started using Tableau in Paystack as well. Yeah, because we reviewed some tools and then we picked Tableau. No, I wasn't biased though, but we sharp. So we picked Tableau, and then last year we now have a data team at Paystack. So I'm now on the data team as the data product owner.
But I'm curious particularly, so the Tableau Zen Master, like how did you get that, that title to that role? Can you just share that story of life?
Okay, so I first got it in 2019. So I've been a Zen Master 2019, 2020, and then 2021. So so I started a community, right, to help people, because when I first started learning data, I didn't have like Nigerians where most of my people I was following on Twitter, and then people used to come to meetups that I organized in Lagos. So I started organizing meetups. People come there. If you come for the first time, at the end of the day, you see people that have built something, at least built a dashboard. Even though, of course, your first dashboard is going to be horrible, but at least you built something, you have an idea. There's someone here that's attended one of them. So, when you do that, to become a Zen Master, Tableau is looking for three things: mastery of the software, if you're a collaborator, and if you teach people. And people nominated me, and then I completed the process, and they picked me, pretty much. Yeah.
Thank you. So, from what you've said so far, it seems like somehow you had like a choice. Like when you started out with Tableau, it was just like you were scamming them, and then at some point you were just like, okay.
So when I first started my job that I learned Tableau on, my first week, my boss gave me a dashboard to recreate. And by Wednesday, Chuka knows my boss. By Wednesday, he had asked me how far. I resumed on Monday. On Wednesday, he asked me how far. I was deep in the end of YouTube trying to figure this thing out. And there was nobody that was going to help me. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a bit difficult. So he sent me back to, at the entrance of the office, there was a writing there. It says, difficult takes a week. Difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. Right? So meaning that by the end of that week, if it's impossible, you must have figured it out. So I literally didn't have a choice. I had to figure it out.
But I would say, I think the next question I will ask is that, like, at some point, it should have it became interesting for you. I think that's why it stopped, right? So, was there like anything particular that made it stick for you? So, as expert, like, it was your job, because I mean, so many of us used to that we don't like, or do things that we don't like, but it's like part of our job. I mean, from my own personal interaction with you, you actually do enjoy like working with it, like you love it. So, what would you say made that love grow? Was it just working with Tableau, other tools, or do you think it's due to like your engineering background?
I don't know if it's my engineering background, but typically I live in spreadsheets. Like my entire life is in Google Sheets. So I try to like my expenses, if I'm going on a trip, anything is in the spreadsheets, right? So I guess that's how I function and that's how I operate. And then like, I don't know, I just found the software data interesting to me because I didn't start my data journey by learning SQL, for example. and I didn't learn SQL until I got to Paystack because I needed to learn it. So it just made it really interesting. Like you can pick a data set, find insights, communicate it, tell a story, help someone figure out something, look into the data. When I'm working at the retail tech startup, data was really key in what we were doing. Like where should our telesales people be calling? Which location should we be supplying this particular kind of thing? So it was just really important that there was no way you could function without data.
I think for a lot of people, I don't know, I get this from social media or just like messages I get, just like how do I get into the data industry? So I think the question I'll ask like as a newbie, where do you think where can you start from? So I really want to do this data thing, to be data analyst, to be data product owner, data scientist. Where would you search? How do you start?
I'll answer like a consultant and say it depends. It depends on your interests. If you don't like to write code, maybe data engineering is not for you because then you need to actually like be strong in like SQL and R and Python and all these things. But if you are more comfortable with speaking to business users, because before you build a dashboard for maybe product team, right, you need to engage the product team, find out what are they trying to look for, what kind of metrics do they want to see, how does this contribute to the bottom line, yada yada yada. So if you're starting, you have to figure out what you want to do in data. There's so many things. There's data governance, there's database manager, and I think that maybe speaking to a few people, like if you find maybe a data analyst on LinkedIn, right, message them to understand what does a day in your life look like, right? You can pick that for a data engineer as well. When you talk to them to understand what does a day in their life look like, what kind of tools are they using, then you will start to find courses that are similar to that. You will go through a number of courses, and that's part of the work that you need to do. Nobody's going to help, nobody's going to do it for you. So you do some courses, some of them you would like, some of them you would not like. And as you continue to do that, there's no like, do this, and then you become a data analyst. You have to try different things, right? At the end of the day, you might find out you actually do not like, you don't want to write SQL, right? You want to be at the end of, you want to do data visualization where your core is Tableau or Power BI or Looker or any of those tools, right? So by the time you try different things, you talk to different people, you take multiple courses. For me, like I said, I did Makeover Monday. There was free data, there's data sets all over the internet, and you can go to makeovermonday.co.uk, I think. There's like over 3 years worth of data sets there, right? There's Cargo, right? So try around, play around with it, start building something. Publish your work on Tableau Public, share your work, ask for feedback, right? At some point you'll find where you're comfortable in the entire data spectrum, and then you begin to flourish there. That's what I think.
Thank you. So I think recently we're seeing, I think in the last 2-3 years, we've seen more Nigerians start to accept, like, think about data and just like frame their decisions around data. There's been like a huge spike. I think even like in the last 1 year, just like on Twitter, they started to build like a data community slowly and surely. Maybe because I'm in that space, so I see people like that interact more. Well, what would you say is sort of like is influencing this trend, and how do you think the trend will like continue into the future?
I don't think it's really a Nigerian thing to start with. A lot of companies, like maybe 5 years ago, or maybe like 6-7 years ago, this outburst and explosion of like data careers was not like such a big deal. Do you get? It's recently become a thing. Like if you look at companies like Airbnb, they have like an entire data science team that's doing like fantastic stuff. Sometimes when I read their engineering blog, I'm like, God, when you get Netflix, all these companies, they have like really huge data teams that are doing a lot of work, and it's because of how technology actually exploded, right? People are building new things. When there was no Netflix, there was no need for their data team, but now there's Netflix, they need to understand their users, so they have to look into the data. So as technology continues to grow, people continue to build more things. There will be a requirement for like data people. When I started with Visualize, it was because I noticed that great like software and tech was becoming a thing in Nigeria, but all the groups I was seeing was majorly for people that wanted to write code, like for loop and dev something. it was just always for software developers. Like I didn't see anything for data people. So yeah.
And just to speak to that, I would actually say that like community is a really big thing. It's very helpful in growing. Like if you really want, I think if you want to grow, it's very helpful to belong to a community, and like TheSQLTribe I mean one of them. But there are other. but then we visualize them. It was actually one of the first communities I joined, and I did make over money a few times, but I still did it. But there's also like something Wednesday. Workout Wednesday, and I'm going to be honest, the Tableau community, especially on Twitter, they're very helpful. They're like it's actually an incredible community. So I think if you really want to go into data visualization, join the Visualize. They're on Telegram, so it's very just like I'll be on Twitter. I think the last question I would just I would ask you, because I think we didn't talk about what does a data product owner like. What is that role about? But I mean, I don't think anyone has ever heard of that role. So what's the data product? What do you really do as a data product owner?
First of all, like titles are interesting. But I can just talk about what a day in my life looks like. Right. So when I joined the data team, there was like so at PayStack we have data team, and then in data team we have 3 different teams, sub-teams. There's data engineering, there's data analyst, and then there's data product. Right? So over time, right, we have all this data across. We have data that we've generated like in the last how many years that different teams need to use, right? Someone will come on Slack to ask the data team to say, please, I'm looking for a transaction volume for X to dates or whatever across X channel, and then you have to get that answer for them. If you don't make that process into a repeatable and scalable process, next week another person from another team will come and ask you that same question, and then you find out that the data team is only responding to the same questions every time. And how do we empower our business users to be able to find these insights by themselves, right? So what tools are we making available? What training are we making available? How are we documenting our resources? We have a lot of tables in our database. What fields in the tables mean, right? How do we train people to be able to find these things by themselves, so that then data team can focus on more like core data work, like doing machine learning and all those fancy things, right? So our data team is still like growing, but I'm really excited about what's to come. Anyways, but that's just a day in my life. We're doing a lot of data discovery work, data documentation, trainings, building dashboards, of course. Yeah, that's what a day in my life looks like.
Thank you. I guess we can take questions now.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? All right, let's start with this line. Any questions for Zen Master in the building? No? Cool. Any questions here? No? Awesome. I love it. We'll be done very, very quickly. I'm just joking. I love that you have so many questions. Yeah. Please put your hands together for him, ladies and gentlemen. People in this contract, why? Thank you.
All right, Mr. I'm actually very fascinated by the work that you do. And so I wanted to ask, for someone looking for product-related data in particular, right? Because when we say products, I don't know, sometimes it's a bit big for me, for someone who's actually interested in products. But I want to know, like, so if I was interested in being a data product owner, right, and let's say I already had like the data skill set, and I wanted to interact more with data in that line to show what I can do in that line, where would I best get data suited to that?
I don't think that there's any specific type of data set you need to look for to be a data product owner. You just need to communicate that you know how to interact with data, right? So, I can't tell you that, oh, go here to look for this specific type of data set. Like, if we're hiring a data product owner at PayStack, right, I'm not looking for, has this person done this type of projects? I'm not looking for that in particular. I just want to know, how can this person find insights in data, right? Can they use, what tools can they use? What is their communication like? What is their storytelling like? What is their user, like how do they think about user experience? Because building a dashboard is not just putting bar charts and pie charts or line charts, right? There are certain things that you need to be conscious of when you're building a dashboard for your business users. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty.
Please put your hands together for Abisola. Somebody. I'm sorry guys, they work at the same company. I don't know why you can't ask for a slap.
Hi guys, thank you so much, Abby and Sim. My question is, what do you think is the most important skill for someone who is aspiring to be a data analyst?
I think you must be curious and ask a lot of questions. And I think those are the same thing, right? Yeah. Yeah, you need to ask a lot of questions. Why is this thing the way it is? Or what exists? How can I make something better? I think that's like at least soft skill, right? For technical hard skills, you can pick any of the tools, right? I will champion Tableau, right? Obviously, but and then SQL is important. I didn't start with learning SQL, but at some point I had to learn how to use it, right? So, yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Sala. Yeah, my name is Nima. I'd like to complete this question. So, yeah, I've decided to be a data analyst, and I've done some certifications. Yeah, what would you? How would you advise me to approach Paystack as a company? I would like to work with Paystack. What are the what area should I go for? Or what
I would give, first of all, general blanket advice that I don't think it's specific to Paystack alone if you're looking for a job anywhere. So there's someone that used to attend We Visualize meetups, right? And then she started building her portfolio and doing like Makeover Monday and just being active, right? Somebody reached out to her from Spotify out of nowhere. She used to live in Lagos, and if I think her first, like when she came for the first review meetup, if you see the dashboards we built that day, they're very ugly, but that's not the point. The point is that she continued, and not everybody will continue. Out of maybe 50 people, maybe only 2. And that's the truth. Not everybody will continue, but those that actually continue, right? She continued and built that muscle and started sharing her work. And someone reached out to her from Spotify. She went through the interview process, and they hired her from Lagos and moved to Sweden. Do you get? So it's do stuff. Like, it's not just attending the program. You can attend 1,001 courses, but build your portfolio, right? And you can use with Power BI. I know that you can. Power BI does not allow you to have a portfolio, but Tableau does that, right? So you can have a Tableau public portfolio where you would see you can publish all the dashboards you've ever built, and to add to that, you can now do maybe a Medium post or a blog post or whatever, so that when you are now like in the recruitment process, right? Even if you've never had a job as a data analyst in a particular company, you have something to show that, okay, I've actually done this analysis, this was my thought process, this is how I thought about certain things, and this was my final product. Do you get? Like, people want to hire someone that has actually done something, because I have problems to solve and I want to hire someone that will come and solve my problems for me. Do you get? I hope that's helpful.
Thank you very much. That is all the questions that we can take. Thank you for that, by the way. Shooting your shot 2022. You see, yes, absolutely. Yes, you can see her later. All right, I will hand over to Simi to wrap up. No? All righty. Thank you very much, folks. Please put your hands together for our keynote speaker and our founder. Yes. Please don't forget to join us at the TheSQLTribe and We Visualize. That's why, before you know it now, you are working out of Canada, or who knows, maybe Kigali, or Abuja, or Kaduna, even Ikorodu. Moving on very swiftly, we're not going to have a break this time. We're just going to go into our third and final panel session. I know we're wrapping up. I would like to beg the indulgence of everyone here. We promised to finish by 5 o'clock. It's 7 minutes to 5. We'll have to move the time by a little bit. By a little, I mean a lot. Maybe about 45 minutes for the next panel session. It's going to be great the way it has been great so far, but please and thank you. All right. So the next panel session is how to accelerate business growth as a data-driven organization. And I have my panelists over here. Wow. I promise you that bios are so long and so detailed, I will shorten it. Our founder has said to shorten it. Even shortening it is still a lot. Our first panelist is the CEO and product lead at FormPlus, a subscription BBC-based data collection software as a service that enables organizations to reach their customers online or offline and analyze that data. Lovely. Now, FormPlus is being used by the largest ride-hailing services in Southeastern Asia, academic institutions across the US, and so on and so forth. Our guest, our first panelist, is passionate about helping organizations remove bottlenecks in their operations using the data that they already have. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I invite on stage Busayo Longen. Keep clapping till he gets up on stage. Thank you very much. I see my favorite quadrant is still not clapping. I will come for you guys shortly. All right. Our next panelist is the co-founder and customer finance manager at PiggyVest. She is an entrepreneur and finance lead with over 7 years of experience in the Nigerian tech space. She leads the customer finance team at PiggyVest, one of Africa's foremost financial technology companies in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Iboko Akiola. Clap like you mean it. Clap like you're excited. Clap like your money is in PiggyVest. All the blessings here, put your hands together. We know how wealthy you all are in your PiggyVest. For my brothers out there that all got C6 last year on our window, I was as shocked as any one of you. How dare they? They say it's because I used to withdraw too much. Won't I withdraw? Shall I stop? Alright, our next panelist is an industrious and prolific entrepreneur with over 9 years of experience in building businesses across different verticals, ranging from digital strategy, technology consulting, and the credit infrastructure as a service. He leads the team at Ashtrack 9, who have worked with government, parastatals, NGOs, and so many other development finance institutions. They work with companies to build sustainable solutions that drive impact. He is also an avid fitness buff. Clap now. Yes. And his father's run is 30 kilometers. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Chuka Ekeledu. The man has run 30 kilometers in his life. At one time, I ran from the back of the hall to the front and I almost passed out. It is the belly that caused it. Alright, and next is my fave. I met her for the first time today, but we became best friends. She's a digital sales and partnership. She runs digital sales and partnership at Tangerine Africa. She's an experienced sales and communication strategist with years of experience in digital management, social media strategies, brand management, and partnership. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Tife Sholoye. She is also a proud Chevening scholar and has been at the forefront of showing young people the path towards growing and developing in tech and other such opportunities. Please put your hands together for our final panel. All right, so let's move on.
Hi everyone. Please,
Hi.
energy. Hi everybody. Hi. Great. It's so cool to be like here with like founders. God willing, please. But yes, this conversation is centered around growth and utilizing data to grow your organization. So the first question really is, how exactly could and should a company use data to accelerate growth and make growth strategy, create strategy around growth, build your company from ground up, etc. So first question to you.
I'm able to respond, guys. So just a bit of background. What we do at FormPlus is help people collect data on forms, right? We've all used form builders here, right? Google Forms, Typeforms, then we have FormPlus. As simple as forms sound, you actually have to use the form whenever you do anything, right? You can think of even your phone password screen as a single field form, right? So when you're doing anything, you'd have to use a form. And so for us, the first thing for us is was to help people collect data they need in a way they will know how to use it in the future, right? So we had to think through a lot of the form fields we were building, how it was going to actually help people in their day-to-day businesses. And I think a lot of the growth started from there to help people use the right field. Our first PM is actually in the room, you can see. A lot of the fields that helped us to grow, she actually led those. So I'll give an example. People typically build forms, but those data sit in different sort of sheets or just different databases. We've been able to help businesses use every single form you've had as a database for a new form, right? And so we just try to build a couple of those kinds of features that help people to build their own businesses, and that's where I will start from, because that's how we build our own business. So for us, the other side of it, which is really the question, I think it's a very fast question, to be honest, and it's difficult to answer just at a go. But for me, as the leader of the business, it's been on a number of fronts, right? For the development team, it has a different meaning. For the team handling content marketing, sales has a different meaning. For support, it's a different meaning for it. But we've had to work together to unit, but then also make it come together for the business. I'm really not sure how to answer the question without unpacking it and taking a lot of time, but yeah.
Very heavy, I know.
Hi, everyone. Right, so to answer the question, the reason why you start a business is to sell. We can make it nice words like products and data and all that, but the main goal is to have money in your pocket. And so what data does is tell you how to sell, who to sell to, what to stop selling, what to start selling, and then even to the people we are selling to, who are they, and how you collect money from them. So we can all dance around the theatrics of different customer success, engineering and all that, but the main aim is the money. And I think that's, for me, I don't know, for me, everything we're thinking about is what is money back in my pocket.
Thank you.
I feel disadvantaged going last. Everybody has given such great answers. So the way I see data as a business owner is a lot of things happen by your gut. Your gut feeling, you see it, you say, okay, this makes sense. Data, or what data helps you do, is remove 50% of the guessing work in it. So you're able to say, okay, I'm making this informed decision based on what I have seen, on the context and the behavior of your customers. And for us at Abstract, we are mainly B2B, we started as a mainly B2B business. So it really played heavily into how we prospect our clients, how we service them, and even the solutions that we build. So that for me is what I think business owners should use data, remove the guesswork from it, and actually go with empirical evidence that makes you smarter decisions, makes smarter decisions for you, and you guys have to grow your business. And like Sarah said, it is different for different aspects of the business, right? What the data set a marketing team needs is different from a data set that an engineering or a product roadmap team needs. So you have to also dissect data and put it into context of what you want to achieve for each business unit. So that's my own summary of what that's it.
Super, thank you so much. So yes, we've been here for a few hours, right? And everybody has been going on and on about how data is so amazing and it does this. I'm not throwing shade. But like, has data led you to take a very bad decision? Now, you don't have to say it may be classified information, but you can just give us yes, X, Y, Z, or no. Because I'm very curious. Everybody has said very good things about data, but there must have been something that has gone wrong somewhere.
I mean, I think it's a strong yes. And I think the reason is that a lot of times when you look at data, sometimes you see what you want to see, not what. So, and it's very interesting because there's so many ways that things can go wrong, and I think that sometimes there's a lot less focus on that, right? If the data set is too small, if you're not really asking the right questions, if you are going at it just with the wrong approach, I think there are a lot of errors that are prone to it. If you're running a test and the test is too short, things will be wrong. If this sample size is too small, things are going to be wrong. And for us, I think we probably made a lot of those decisions at first, more than I'm probably able to admit. My team members who are in the room would probably smile at that. There's a lot of them, honestly. There are times when we did, for instance, we didn't, as an example, didn't get a lot of our advertising rights in the beginning, and so we didn't tie things properly from end to end. And we were spending money on advertising, a lot of money per month, and at some point you stopped running ads and it didn't affect our revenue, like our revenue didn't drop, right? And so before that we would have said, yeah, we're using data, but the truth is that we're doing rubbish before that point. And I think that sometimes you don't even know until much later in the future that things have actually not been going right. So I think for me it's really just the learning. And I think taking a different approach now, I really start by be sure I'm asking the right questions, right? And I try to break down problems into just smaller sets, so that the simpler the question is to answer, the more you can use it to solve it. And that's my learning been so far.
Right. I think I agree with everything you said. I think the only place where I would just say something additional is data is like asymmetry. It's like money. It's not evil. It's not good. So data will never lead you wrong in quotes, but you can execute it wrongly. So that's like with everything you said. And I think one example for us speaking this, but I think one of the first ones that really screamed at us was maybe the first time we got dragged, I think. So for context, the same team we've been doing different products over the last decade. And so one of the things we had done was a food festival. So we're like, oh, let's do something for the users, blah, blah, blah. And they wanted it. So we asked, and they wanted it. Right? So we then called it Piggy Vestos or Piggy Fest or something. I can't really remember. But then there was an uproar of who we hadn't checked. So we had a section of users that were in a religion that didn't accept that. So you want a festival, you said you wanted it, and we said let's do it, and you're screaming at us now, right? Because we called it a name that is not acceptable. So yes, they wanted the festival. We did the festival, but we just called it a name at times. So it was just like, so small dragging here and there, you're just right. So I think that was my question.
Thank you.
Guys, it's really on for keep going on.
Let's start from this point.
Alright, so I can't really remember a specific instance that, because I try to move very fast and not dwell on things that you mess up. One key tip as an entrepreneur, do not focus on the things that have gone wrong. Context, right? And in that context, many things can go wrong. The timing, how you use it, how you interpret it, and things like that. So it's really important to try to use a very logical mindset and let the data really speak for itself. And because there are a million ways that it can go wrong, you really want to take your time and not to be in a hurry, right, to really make the right decisions. But yeah, I do agree with everything everybody else has said here. So disadvantage of going last.
Okay, so you.
No, I'm not doing that.
What do you want? Do you see the problem?
No.
Data.
I'll take the next one.
Okay, so there has been a lot of chaos around like privacy, GDPR, all the tweaks that come with that. How does that affect how all of you have utilized data, kept data, sold data maybe? What does that look like in your day-to-day running? Actually, yes.
So, as with tech, a lot of things move very fast, right? So we have to always be on the pulse of what's happening. For us internally, we had to, I'll use a particular product that we have built. So we are responsible for the national database for gender-based violence in the whole of Nigeria. What that means is that we are responsible for collecting data from 36 states at both local and federal and state level. So it becomes very important that you are not just allowing that data to be accessed by anybody. So one of the things we've done is ensure that the data that's collected by that platform is not easily identifiable by anything. So you don't see anybody's name, phone number, age, but we just focus on the key aspects of the instance, of what happened, right, as a way to give the higher ups information that can influence policy and regulation. There is a lot of talk about privacy, but my own personal belief is that it is almost impossible to be private if you're online, because almost every interaction, every button you press is tracked in one way or the other. And it might not even be tracked in the way you think. It might be tracked by algorithms, it might be tracked, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like my wife will say that let them track me, I'm not using data to do anything. I'm using it as an example. She believes that I want Instagram to track me, so they give me the ads that I want, right? Unless you're doing something very, very illegal. I genuinely don't believe that there is anything wrong in that, but obviously there is not a bigger problem in big tech companies that they sell to. So for us internally, we try to put checks and balances to ensure that the data that we collect via the products and services that we offer are foolproof in terms of hacking. And then even for Credit Plus, all financial information is being routed through Paystack. So we believe in them that they're able to keep that information stored. In fact, it's one of our selling points. They say, what happens to the card details? And I'm saying, brother, it's not on our platform. Just talk to CB, she'll sort you out. So that is for us the way we have tried to work around the GDPR policies.
I'll just continue from there. Obviously, with almost 3.7 million people, you have so Paystack does all that jazz. Where it's also a selling point for us. Like I don't know. So when they say I do, are you with my card? No. Go and make sure. And I know they also have their own way of doing things, which we don't even necessarily need to know. But exactly. But then we think of it more internally. So, and I think every business person should, because as you scale and you become really important, they might be sending people to you from the village. And you would have people that have agendas. So you need to be careful who has different level of admin access, and that one is where we are going to die on inside where I work. You can't just have access to anything or anybody. I have a lot of Paystack friends. So when they speak, you will even know that this person, if they speak in such code even to each other, and you're wondering, this person doesn't even have access to my account, even though they work in the same team. So I think every business person needs to think like that, where it's just this fear you need to have at the back of your mind. If the regulators don't come and catch you, then they will send somebody to you. And you need to figure out inside how I would make sure everything I do for the people I'm promising something, they feel safe about it.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with them. I think for us there's an extra layer of it for us at FunPlus, and it's because over the years we've processed data from ride-hailing services in Asia, so Gojek, Kareem, Grab Taxi, to schools in the US. A number of high schools and universities have used us. and some in Africa as well. And so GDPR, the deadline coming was a lot of questions, customers asking, so it's deadline is here, what are you guys doing? I think the first thing I try to just sort of switch in my mind is to see it as a sort of trust signal, right? So people want to know that you're being ethical with their data and that there are processes in place. And like you said, it's a number of things. It's controls, internal controls and processes, how you manage data, how you handle documentation, right? So there are things that needs to happen. So if you have a breach, you need to report it to the people who have been compromised. You need to go to the authorities. There are different, so just that process being put in place, something we had to go through. And it's helped us have a better trust with our customers, right? So people trust that this has happened. If someone says, oh, hi, I want to request all the data you have on me, which we get at least a few every week. It's their right to ask for that, and I will give it that to you. Or someone says, could you please delete everything you have on me, up until everything, their emails, everything needs to go off. And so for us, it helps improve the trust we have for people, because when they come, you don't act like you don't know, or they need to file so they can send the right documents to them. And it's helps us just have better interaction with our customers.
Super, super, thank you guys. I think my next question really is about hiring. When you speak to entrepreneurs, everyone is like, hiring is a nightmare. And then when you speak to people who want to be jobs, it's like nobody's hiring. So how do you navigate hiring for like your data teams? What does that look like in terms of, is there availability of actual talent, or there's a gap and people in this room need to go and learn Tableau and SQL, or it's fine, it's seamless, there's an overflow of talent? What does that look like for each company?
Hiring is a very tricky question, I'm not going to lie. And it's also, there are many levels to it. Simply, I don't think that there is a talent problem, right? For each company, based on what industry you're in, there are a lot of things that could happen, right? So for instance, for us, over the last few years, we've lost a lot of good talent, which I think a lot of us experience, where, now you're dragging with Amazon, cannot pay Amazon salary, with Google, you can't pay their salary. But at the same time, it takes time for, even if someone is good, it takes time for that skill to be applicable to your organization. You can't just come in and just apply it, right? And the thing, maybe 6-8 months, and if the average time for somebody there is a year, maybe a year, 6 months, 2 years, then what does that mean for you, right? So it's a problem that is still unfolding, I'm not going to lie. One thing that we've tried to do is try to have an active pipeline of people who are sort of in there. So as people are leaving, which is inevitable, you have people who are able to take up their position just almost as quickly. So reduce that onboarding time. So it's internships, just having that pipeline, something that we try to do. Yeah, I think it's most, and also just trying to empower people. So everything you can do to reduce that time, honestly. So have the pipeline for people who need training or resources, just make it available. And I think the last thing is having a hiring process that doesn't revolve around you or your preferences, right? I think that's one thing that happened earlier at FunPlus, where I didn't really see that a lot of people that came in were very similar to me, right? They were private people. They didn't really like to be out there. They just want to get their work done. They were that way. And what happened is that the people they brought in were similar to that. And so eventually, we all seem to have similar personalities. And it became a problem because when we there to them put the brand out there, everyone is like, I don't really like this. And I'm like, who is going to do it, right? So more and more, I think that for me personally, is trying to remove myself from what the brand is supposed to be, which then goes into even the people you bring in. The kind of attitude they have to work, the kind of mindset they bring in, and all that. So yeah, that's what I think.
Super, thank you.
One of the things, I think, I'm going to pick one from everybody, to be honest. The people that work with the person they need to hire, just allow them to hire the person. I think because, especially it's an African thing where you want to know who is working for you. And the person might not necessarily be working for you as per the head of the business or management. The person will just be working with the team, right? So allow those people that will, to solve your problem, allow the people that will do the day-to-day grunt work of the person, get the person. They know where they find themselves. Just go and tell them, add 2 people to your team. Then when it's time for maybe the HR or the final stage, like, but I think, and it's one thing we do very well, just, okay, social media person, lead. So you even see things like that coming from the personal handle of the leader, or, you know, not necessarily you sitting down looking, except if you have some charm. There are some CEOs that have charms. The CEO of one big company in this place has one charm that you can charm everybody. But except you have that charm and that's your superpower, just allow the people that are going to work with that, the need you're trying to fill, the current team, let them do the hiring. That's how it solves it to a large extent.
Okay, first, this Busayo story was very interesting because we had offices in the same building. And so it was interesting because the way he hired people that were like him, I used to hire people that were like me. Carries that is nodding her head aggressively. It's almost similar to me. So the first thing I'll say is that I think my hiring process is the same across board. There is one fundamental thing I value when I'm hiring someone, your attitude to work. And the reason for that is that I genuinely believe that you can figure anything out if you put your mind to it. Like, guys, it's not even it's not inspired to Spasfire Maguire. I genuinely believe that if you dedicate time, effort, and grit, you will figure it out. And especially because we started out as a consulting business where no 2 clients are the same, right? You can have a government agency to come and tell you, I want you to be the solution. Have another person say they want something different. So you have to assess the situation, assess the client needs, and then proffer something that works. Is not something you can put into a concrete job description document. So that's the first thing I look for. So if you have that great attitude to work and to learning and figuring it out, that's a big yes for me. They will now look at, okay, if you come into the team, I typically don't believe that anybody that comes to the team will add value within 6 months of them working with you. That money is just go and learn, it's onboarding, go and learn, and go and learn. And then after that, you can now start seeing some value in the person. And the third thing that I typically do is I have a huge pipeline with people that are about to leave school. So we have a huge program with people that are in like their final years. And why I do that is because I know that after you finish school, at least you will give me 2 years. The first year is you give me NYSC, and then you give me 1 year out of duty and guilt, which is fine. No, it's very, you have to be very realistic. Imagine you are paid a developer $500K, and he comes and tells you that a UK company is offering you $50,000 per year. What do you want to start? You come back and say, my brother, I'm happy for you. I am so happy for you. I'm glad to be a chapter in your story. So that's my general mindset towards this. Because the truth is that we're in Nigeria, right? And you cannot compete dollar for dollar on compensation with international companies. It's just the truth. So you have to find a way to make it work for you, which is why I typically don't believe this conversation that there is no talent. I think you just have to look hard enough and create something that works for you. And that's why for us, a huge thing is process, right? Because we have built very strong processes that we fine-tuned over years of messing up, crying. True story, that actually happened, where we were on a project and no, this one was bad. Henry cried, I cried, Carrie stood, they cried. It was very bad. We rented a house, working on the dev project for months. It didn't work. One of us just ate out between they cry. Well, I don't cry. Come out. Henry will cry. So, and because we have painstakingly gone through that processes, once you enter into the team, within a week or 2, I will easily know that you are not going to do well here. As in, you should be in McDonald's. So just be good. I'm kidding. But yeah, so that's one thing that, so I believe very strongly in our process. It's our Bible. So we have a process for every type of project. So once you come in, even if you are not advanced to take on a project by yourself, there's certain key things you can do to support. If you can't do those things, it's very glaring within a week. So there's something that happens on abstract. It's either you are there for a year, 2 years plus, or you leave within a month. That is always true. And once you leave within a month, it's very clear that, oh, you can't cut it here. So just bye-bye. Thank you for your time. We'll see you in another endeavor. So that's what I typically do.
Super. Have you enjoyed this panel? Yes. Okay, so this is not on the list that Simi gave me. It was me. I want to ask more question. So has there ever been a time, and you don't have to tell us the product or the service, where you guys have done, the data analysis? Yeah, you get my point. English is not my first language. And you go through that entire process, and now integrations have happened, engineering team, now you guys are set to launch, everybody has done everything, and then you realize that somebody made a massive mistake in the data, and the product or service you're about to launch now is actually not going to have PMF, so everybody's looking. Has that ever happened? And if it has, please share. If it has not, we can just get to the next question.
This question, it touched my heart. So you can't get everything right 100% of the time, right? So it has happened to us where the projections and plans that we had for a certain project didn't come to fruition. In fact, what happened is that I had a presentation that morning, this crying thing. I had a presentation that morning. What I ended up doing was having to present the prototype to the client, right? Like I said before, I really don't like to dwell on things going wrong. That's just too much energy and mind space. And as an entrepreneur, the thing that's precious to you is your mind space, right? So we looked at the situation, okay, this was not going to be ready. What is the next best thing? We told our UI guy, can you make this thing be jumping and be looking at? When I click a button, may you walk. So I literally went to the meeting with the prototype on full view. So normally if you're on like Figma, you see different things. So on my laptop, you couldn't see that. All you could see was the finished product. So when we went to the client meeting, the client thought that everything was working. Like, yes, it's working. Guys, this thing is funny now, but that day it wasn't funny. So I think that for us, after that whole process, we still pushed it live and we figured it out. We took a month to really just come back to the drawing table and really say, okay, where did we go wrong? So that's another thing. I believe that for every mistake, for every setback, it is a deep learning experience that you can use to improve your processes. So I don't want to call specific names, maybe person will sue me, but yeah.
Thank you.
So I think one of the examples that comes to mind is you can even think that everything inside is fine. Then the one part that an outsider has to handle that you cannot control is where everything scatters. So we had a product a few years ago. In short, that product had been on Tech Capital's list of best startups and etc. No, it's not pushing it. And so the core of it was we wanted to make sure people could eat. So you would get food in your graphical zone. I mean, in short, we had sponsorships, banks, we had done festivals, then the product launched. Then the delivery, logistics. So it was so bad that people would order food in the morning and probably get it in the night, right? And this was 2017. There was no nothing. It was just figure out your shit. Then we said, okay, let's hire our personal delivery person. And he was an elderly man. And, we would just get phone calls like, my turkey is half. As the end the food. And so we'd be like, man, what happened to the turkey you went to deliver? And he's like, he was hungry. So what at that point, I remember speaking to this man one day and I just turned back because I don't want to go to hell. Because you're wondering, someone has paid for food, you've done everything you could possibly do, so that means there was nothing in quotes wrong with the data. This is your own part, just go and drop the food. So how am I supposed to deal with the user telling me I gave him half turkey? Like, what am I supposed to do with that, right? And so now, obviously, we shut down that product because the man was eating a lot of the food. And then there was a problem. I mean, it's funny now. You guys are laughing. But then we hadn't solved the problem of logistics in Nigeria. Now, I mean, everybody has that product. But when we were one of the earliest people to try to do that line of business, but our data was correct. People were hungry and they wanted to eat food, homemade meal. Like it was so superb. Well, someone was eating the food.
That's very interesting. So I think for us, so because of the nature of our products, if you think about forms, they fit in the process, right? So if you apply to something, somebody will need to review it, another person will need to approve it, and it goes on that way. So one of the things that we had, and again, let me see it here, which I think is a battle story. We had a government institution some years ago that needed to do something, and so, the night before I got this call from the head of the commission, come to Abuja tomorrow morning. I was there, and someone else was in the room, someone who did the introduction, like, we need this, we're bleeding money because this is happening. This thing they wanted to do was already in our backlog, so we're like, okay, maybe we'll move it forward. And that is deadline. Anyways, so I put the team on it and we started building it. We finished building this thing, and in fact, at some point, it's contact us tomorrow morning because we need to review the directors. So myself and Yemisi will carry our back, post of that next month. We'll come back, team will go over it again. And they were building it because it was in our backlog, making it open to all our customers. Right? So it was going to be maybe beta at first, but putting it up to people. And everything went wrong in every possible way. First, because of the pressure to build it quick, developers let us some things, which meant that at some point in the workflow, something might drop. This is someone's actual data. You can't afford to do that. First level. Second level, the commission started having lots of issues. We got an offer letter for this, but then for us to finish our work, we needed them to help us. So at some point, we couldn't finish just to transfer access. They said they needed data to open an email for it. Data took 3 months to open one email address. I said, don't worry about data. We'll find a way around it. We'll get on it. At some point, stop going to Abuja because they're wasting our time. It doesn't make any sense. A year after the delivery date, we're still having back and forth. Somebody was doing this, the director is doing this is happening there, this is happening there. And so, it didn't better be scrapped it. We just killed it because it wasn't making any sense. We put a lot of time into this. We couldn't launch it out because I didn't have confidence in that launch. Even if it worked out, someone could lose data, and that's the worst thing. What if feels as though people lost data, and I'll be on the phone begging you, bring those to me. Because again, when the US company, you're still in the US, you can sue our company directly, and things will go south. And so we just kill that. And I think for me, it really helps me be a lot more intentional about how we go about product decisions. And so it is not something that is naturally happening in the product sort of progression there. We don't push for it. And also not the Nigerian government when it comes to job. Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys. So we have 4 more questions and then we'll break it open to yes. This is my panel. 4 more questions because we have individual questions for you, but let's try and keep it really short. One technical question would be, what applications and tools do you utilize the most and why? So guys, 2 minutes or less, and then we can throw it out to open. You guys, I have only slots for 5 questions, so please prepare your mind. I'm not opening for everybody. 5 questions, this is. Thank you.
Personally or in the organization?
In the organization.
Right. It's a long list. So, full story, intercoms, the Salesforce tool is to support, browser stack. I mean, it's a long list of things for different things. Yeah, it's a long list of services we use.
So SQL, Tableau, different panels of it. Okay, so we're going to skip the questions. See, that was quick. But this is for IBK now. Yes. So been your greatest challenge dealing with customers in the finance industry?
Trust. Now we can look back, it's almost 6 years, right? Especially with the PiggyVest product, we almost a decade before the product. But and then because we are the first, right? We fought a lot of battles. So trust was a big one. My card, going to use my card, that steal money from me. And then, of course, slap names, slap the, like, the stack, slap, not having money and all of that. But, you know, they were not still convinced, and then there's this new thing, because we're solving the discipline problem, not the savings problem. People know how to save, they're just not disciplined, right? So, you know, with the big names and all of that, one of the key things that I noted was, how can we make people trust us more? What feature? What thing? Apart from we're open, you know everybody. You can slide it to those DM, she will answer you. I mean, it's everywhere. So one of the things that I know transformed and literally tripled our collections was when there was this feature that came out, you could have virtual accounts. And that virtual account had the name of the user. So the person is like, I don't want to use my card, right? But I can send to I'm trying. But I can send to an account number that has my name on it. So it's literally me sending money to myself. It's very simple in front, but the back very complicated, right? So that single thing that introduced, by the next month, our collection had tripled. So, even like that thing alone had just solved at least a big part of the trust issue. So obviously, we live in Nigeria, so you always be afraid, right? And so you put more content around how to protect yourself, protect your, you know, just put it in their face that, you know, make sure they don't hack your email or don't give your card details, and all of those jazz was nice. But the way we kind of solved it was with that feature, and we just thank all the partners that brought that solution.
Okay, so this question is for you, Chika. Please, really quickly. As the importance of data grows, how do you see the lending industry making better use of it?
This is a three-part question. I'll try and keep it very simple. So credit infrastructure in Nigeria is virtually non-existent. So what that means is that in America, US, there's a credit bureau that gives you a score, a FICO score based on your purchases, your mortgage, your car payments, or whatever. There's nothing like that in Nigeria. What has happened now is a financial service provider has data about your purchasing pattern, time, month you spend, types of purchases you do, and everything. I believe that if we're able to aggregate the key players in this space and create some kind of alternative credit scoring system, we'll be able to unlock financial inclusion like never before, right? Because then you'll be able to see people's basically life using their purchases. And I think what you spend and how you spend that money is the greatest mirror of how someone's life is. Someone that is buying diapers once a month, you know, they just had a baby, so you can push certain things to them. So data and being able to, and to be honest, sorry guys, this data is actually available. A quick example is that we're currently integrating with supermarkets to use people's purchasing history to actually give them credit lines in the store. So if you are going to Spar and you're spending 100K a month, I have that data and I can tell you that, okay, you can get 100K spent in any Spar in the whole of Nigeria. So it becomes very interesting to see how data can really inform creditworthiness and credit decisions. So for me, I think data becomes a huge equalizer for financial inclusion in the next 5 years to a decade.
Thank you so much. Final question for the panel, and then we move to the audience. Why are products like yours important to the industry? That's your question.
That's my
It's
question.
just yours, yes.
Right. So I'll answer this question in the African context, right? So one thing that we know for sure is that as much, we have a lot of people here in Africa, there's a lot of data to be collected, but there isn't always the means to get data, right? So in 2017, we launched an SMS feature which allows you to essentially submit form responses via SMS, right? So I would ask you what's your name, what's your response to that, I ask you the next question, and everything is does at one entry into the spreadsheet, literally like that. And that was necessary because for a lot of people who are don't have the phones to give you that data, right? And so a lot of the work we've tried to do, we have to scrap that eventually because here integrating across all network providers was just a mess. It was easier to do in East Africa, but when we came here to try to do it, it was just, we tried to use some providers, they had problem with Airtel, just became funny. But in the future, we hope to get to a point where we can reach everybody, whether they're online or offline. And that makes that data accessible to anybody else who wants to reach them. And that's what I think the future looks.
Super, thank you so much. A round of applause for the wonderful panel. Now our first question open. We can only take 3, we can't take 5. Yes, this is my panel, Shike.
Thank you so much, Tifa.
Are you kicking me off?
No, I'm not what? Never. It's your panel. All right, we have one question.
Just call it a day.
All right, so format is stand up, introduce yourself, and then ask a question. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tani. I work as a data analytics professional. So I was going to ask, because everybody on the panel here has presented to us that they love data. But we that we work with data, we know that many times when they're showing what the real numbers say, there's a big fight. You're like a witch, especially with marketing people. So I just wanted to know, how do you guys deal with that in reality? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tani.
So, I think it's one of those things that time will tell. If you ignore the data, it will be you in front. You can't run away, you can't hide. The truth will, it's like they say, the truth will set you free. It's literally that for me, right? Because if you ignore the data, at some point in your business life cycle, it will be a bad decision that can cost you more than you anticipated. So yes, you have to just take the data for what it is and put that into your decision matrix. If not, it might cost you more in the future. So yeah.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Our last question for the day.
Hi everybody, me again, Leslie. So my question is, when you have a product that interacts with up to 2 different target audiences that are different from each other, how do you use data to decide which target audience to focus on? So for example, if you had like a gaming app that somehow teaches teenagers how to code, how do you use data to decide if you should focus your marketing efforts on the kids who are benefiting from the app or to their parents who will be paying for the app?
Fantastic. This is for IBK, actually. Yeah.
The way my God. Because you're looking for, the kids, they love it, it's nice, but who is paying for it? And me. I'm looking for who is giving me money. And so I'm prioritizing that person. The person that loves the game is not giving you value. It's just giving you another pipeline to work on. So just like what Indo does, oh, so brilliant. So like all of us, we eat noodles till now, but our parents didn't grow up eating noodles. But they first made sure our parents could buy it, then they made us love it, and they still advertise to us now as grown adults eating 2 packs of noodles, right? And we know we're going to force the kids to eat noodles. So we love the noodles, but we couldn't give them money, so they targeted that person, knowing that the value would trickle to me. So for your teenager that wants to learn how to code, is nice. So you show him good rich people that are coding. But then me, I am making sure you show your child that this is the future of coding. But you that is your card detail that is a paystack. I will focus on you, right? And also tell stories. Everything is about storytelling. So the child is seeing the story of him having a great future. And me, you're telling me a story of having a retirement plan, right? So, so focus on the person that gives you money. You can do two, but make sure the person that will press enter gets the most attention. My personal opinion.
So that's a great point. But just to add to that, I don't think that is two different sets. It's actually the same thing, right? The person that's giving you money is giving you money because they want their kids to prosper. So the best way to use that to your advantage is use the data from the person that's actually interacting with the platform to show progress to the person that is paying. In that situation, the data feeds into your business decision and helps you make the best profit. So I think looking at that as two different things becomes problematic because you can be sending progress reports to the parents, let them know that, oh, this thing is working, or send them testimonials, send them, oh, student of the month. All that information comes from the data and the user behavior of people that are actually using the platform. So it's a very tricky thing to look at as two different data sets.
Thank you so much, guys. This was amazing. Please, a round of applause for our wonderful panel. Now, we might go over to top, and I'm sure you're happy and at peace now.
I just love you being up there. That's not true. Do you need any help?
I'm fine, thank you. Independent woman.
Hey, thank you very much. Please put your hands together for Tiffany. She was absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. All right, folks, we have come to the end. But before we wrap up, wait now, stop carrying your bags. But before we do wrap up completely, our founder is going to close us off with closing remarks. Yes, vote of thanks. Please put your hands together as I welcome Simi. She has some special people she wants to thank. Yes. Okay. Sorry, before I give the microphone over to Simi, I'm so sorry. I would like all of us to put our hands together for the father and mother of our founders, Mr. and Mrs. Afolabi Jumbo. Yes, parents that support what their kids are doing. Parents that do not ask, what are you typing on your computer? Thank you very much. Did your daddy ever ask, what are you typing? No? What a beautiful something. Alright, yeah, so we would love to have all the volunteers, please come up on stage very quickly. Volunteers for the SQL Tribe, please come out. If you're wearing the SQL Tribe shirt, very quickly. Thank you very much. These are the gentlemen and women, well, man and women, that have been making the event run smoothly. They have been behind the scenes working tirelessly, day in, day out, night after night, day after day, time after time. Cindy Lauper. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes, there's more. Oh, and of course, Simi's personal assistant. She has done a madness today. She was absolutely amazing. Don't hide in the corner. Come to the middle. Come to the middle. A light put on a hill cannot be hidden. Glory, glory. Woo! Cha! It's hot in here. All right. Simi is going to do a very. Oh, I'm sorry. Photographers have chased me away. All right. We're going to do photos very quickly. I can be talking. Ring around the rosy. I don't know what to say. Please. All right, awesome stuff. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for them once again. Absolutely fantastic. All right, so Simi is going to take us away with her closing remarks, and then we'll close out officially. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much. This feels surreal that it actually happened. I feel like we worked so hard and it has happened. And thank you to be honest, every single person on that panel is my friend. So thank you guys for answering me. I'm always dragging them into everything that I'm doing. So thanks for just saying yes and showing up. For some people, they never anchored a panel session before and they just said, oh sure, I would say yes. I'm speaking to Tolu specifically. Yeah, he has never done that. And just thank you for your support. I really could not have done this without any the volunteers, everyone. And so obviously my amazing parents who always support everything okay, there. So yeah, thank you and I hope you had a good time. I think for me that was the important thing. I hope you had a good time. and I'll see you at another, when I have another bright idea, you guys will be invited again. So please meet yourselves, network, and there's still fruit outside to eat. Please pay for it. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Toba. Oh my God. Please give Toba a big shout out.
Thank you. So, I didn't know she was
Book it for
going to
your event.
Thank you.
Please, and I mean, sell your market.
So sorry. I didn't know she was going to do that. It was so shocking. Thank you very much, folks. My name is Toba, of course. It has been an absolute pleasure being your MC. As she said, book me today. Let's have money to buy new suits. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Please put your hands together for yourselves. You have been absolutely amazing. All right. Good night and take care. If we could please have the panelists up on stage, those are still around. Panelists, please come on stage. Oh, they say I should